And TrueTouch is going to be able to basically deny this mineral line, but Bonnet does have 2 Corsairs. If he can save this Corsair, oh my god, it goes down. So now Bonnet, really, he's down to 1 Nexus.
And now that opens up the door for the Lings to just flood in on top of those cannons, and they get instantly on top of all of them. Meanwhile, the Mutas turn around to defend the Zealots, and look, the Zealots are actually turning around.
What is TrueTouch doing this game? He's just absolutely slapping Bonnet with kind of an impromptu build, like a completely improvised tactic here.
And now we're starting to get to the point in the game where Bonnet has to be worried about actually mining out, because it's approaching 17 minutes. We're at 14 right now, so about 2 to 3 more minutes left. But those are amazing storms, game-saving storms potentially.
But this Nexus is getting targeted. Is it going to go down? It's going to be so close. I don't think there's quite enough, but with these units coming from the north side, oh my god, the Nexus goes down, and kind of a YOLO play almost from TrueTouch, but it does work out.
I think if Hawk's going to play this style, he needs to go for this fight, because it's only 8 Goliath versus like 20 units. Okay, now he's realized that, hey, the Goliath count is simply too low, and now he's going to try and engage it. First vessel pops out, but because the Nat Gas was so late, I don't even think a Radiate is complete just yet. So the vessel right now can't do anything. If he finds the vessel and he gets taken down, which he's going to find, this is going to be a massive win for him. Also, the armory is up there. If he snipes the armory, this game's done. Meanwhile, Goliaths are just dying left and right. You can see the power of unupgraded Goliaths versus Mutalisks. They're just way too strong. So another nice move from TrueTouch here. He's going to get a couple drones basically for free. There goes 1, 2, 3. Probably the whole line is going to get wiped out before these Mutas gets into position. It looks like he got 6 or so. Meanwhile, Lings attack the natural, and this is just what happens once you fall behind in ZVZ. You get picked apart, and unfortunately, this is going to be Hawk falling 2-0, and TrueTouch, one of the best players in the history of BSL, he's going to easily make it out of Group A.
I feel like Mendinho barely missed his timing. He took a bit too long to get across the map. I mean, he still has a lot of Goliaths here, but remember, these aren't like +2 Goliaths, and that's +1 attack on carrier, so they're going to be able to completely wreck whatever they target fire instantly. The tanks are going to go down in a matter of seconds, and the Goliaths are simply not dishing out enough damage to keep the interceptors back from firing.
And look at the carrier control. He didn't lose a single one. All he really lost there were Zealots. I don't think a single goon died at all either. So now there's a 25 supply lead for Bonnet. More tanks are getting picked off left and right. And this is kind of just what happens once Bonnet gets carriers. There's just nothing really you can do. Remember, he even sniped the shuttle that had all the Reavers, and it still wasn't enough.
These 4 Reavers are going to do a massive amount of damage, but the shuttles did get picked off by those Scourge. So these Reavers can get surrounded.
Yeah, that was a crucial catch right there to catch all those shuttles. And now the Reavers are going to be somewhat exposed, but because of how much AoE there is, that's another massive plague. Just so much. There's 6 Reavers. Holy moly. It looks like this might just be a death push. There's really not a great way for Zerg to engage. Well, that's one way. Go for a massive flank, but Bonnet sees it with his observer.
Oh, but they already went down! All the Reavers, they got too far forward and got shot by that sunk. Only 1 Reaver remaining, and I was going to say, this is do or die for Protoss. If he loses this army, he's going to lose all the map control that he has, and Hawk... Nayokin, I think Hawk's done it, man. He's in such a commanding position. Protoss is ahead 30 supply already. You don't usually see these margins these days, because Protoss has to delay their timing so much by getting cannons early. But here comes the attack, and Hawk has to pull drones. This is so scary. He has no anti-air to deal with these Corsairs. The Zealots are just going to push through here. The 2 Sunkens are doing work. Mutas do pop out, though, but this is 6 Corsairs with +1. What was... Hawk just did not notice that Protoss was committed to these Corsairs, and
he can't do anything because he's supply blocked. He can't build any units. That's it. There's no Sunkens to defend. And with the Sunkens falling down and more Zealots streaming across the map, this is going to be game over unless these Scourge somehow miraculously kill every Sayer. They did a good job, but the Mutalisks just aren't strong enough to deal with the Sayers. There's still 4... Welcome to the final day of the round of the 16 of the BSL. I am Nyoken. With me is Mihai. This time it's going to be Group D. It's going to be the Protoss Death Group. We've got Dewalt, BoA, KwarK, and SPX. So we're going to see if Dewalt can continue his domination, or are we going to see a potential upset with KwarK or SPX making it out? So Mihai, you think KwarK can do it? You think somebody can actually take down Dewalt?
You missed out on BoA too, man. Come on, man. I mean, can someone take down Dewalt?
Can someone take down Dewalt and BoA? Is it possible? Like, those two players are extremely, extremely good. SPX has done very well every single BSL. However, it seems that he tops out in the round of 16.
Well, SPX is going to have his work cut out for him, of course. But again, TVP, not a very easy matchup for the Terrans in the BSL. We'll have to see. I mean, he does only have one matchup to prepare for, so I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what SPX has in store for us today. But, you know, like, going into this group, obviously I'm really excited to see Dewalt play. I think a lot of people are. We haven't seen him play. I mean, this is going to be his first game in the BSL, having been seeded directly into the round of 16 due to his high ladder placement. You know, here's the thing that's on my mind is that ASL qualifiers were this weekend, the past 3 days. I know for a fact DeWalt has been playing in all 3 of them. So, you know, and he played probably earlier today for him, right? If we're thinking about just you and I were watching him, well, I was watching him last night before going to sleep. So we'll see if he has the endurance and the stamina to keep playing, because that can be very tiring.
Yeah, he played this morning. We know that he went pretty far into the ASL. I won't spoil the results, but he went pretty darn far in previous qualifiers. I know he took a game off of 815, who on the ladder is consistently within like top 20, top 10. That's a Zerg player. He's really damn good. So we know that Dewalt is in tip-top shape if he's taking games off of actual pros. So this group feels like it's going to be very difficult for anybody to take him down. However, you have to remember that this is PvP. There was players last season that did take games off of him. I think, was it Tech? I'm not sure if he took the game off of him, but there was a particular trade that heavily went in his favor on Eclipse. I remember it. Can't remember if he sealed the deal, but Protoss players are going to have a good shot versus him, of course, because PvP is a little bit more volatile than the other matchups. And we are going to see if our lone Terran can make it pretty far. SPX, as I mentioned, he's good. However, he's got a death group pretty much. TVP is a nightmare these days, especially for Terran players. But what about KwarK? We kind of haven't talked about him at all. He's not the sole representative here. We've also got BoA. BoA, remember in BSL 10, I think he got, did he get 6th? I feel like he went pretty far. Yeah,
he did get 6th. He lost to Dandy, and then Dandy played Eonzerg, and then Eonzerg played Boneth, and then Boneth played Dewalt, right? So Eonzerg was 3rd, Dandy was 4th, BoA was, BoA played Dandy, and then Dandy played Oyaji, right?
I don't remember.
We'll have to see. He was either 6th or 5th. Yeah.
I know BoA, of course, made it into the top 6 after the crazy round robin format that we had in BSL 10. Now this is already fireworks to start us off, because if you look at the group, just instantly you think, okay, 2 favorites here. It's clearly John Dong here and Dewalt, and they're going to be facing off as our first matchup. We can see from the statistics ridiculous win rates for Dewalt. He's got a crazy win rate versus Terran, 70% win rate versus Zerg, basically 70% win rate versus Protoss. And probably the only losses versus Protoss against him are all games versus Boneth. Like, it seemed that Boneth had his number for multiple seasons. So if you're not Boneth here, probably all those games are victories for him in PvP. Meanwhile, BoA over on the other side, not a very large sample size, only 25% win rate versus Protoss. So we don't really know exactly how he's going to match up versus someone like Dewalt.
Yeah, but Nyoken, remember last season, Dewalt had 1 loss in the round robin. 1 loss of like series.
And you know who it was too?
Who was it?
BoA. So
BoA.
BoA won last season versus Dewalt 2-1. I'm literally, and I remember this because I remember BoA beating Dewalt. So I'm just looking it up so I don't say something insane on stream, but it was 2-1. BoA won versus Dewalt. So, and Dewalt had beaten Bonneth in the round robin. So there you go, Nayokin. We'll have to see.
I don't want to hear any hot takes by Guy, right? I want straight facts.
These were straight facts. I'm
Yeah.
spitting facts right now. So game 1 is going to be on Overwatch. The players are ready. Dewalt versus BoA. Let's get right into it, boys.
All right, in the top left, in our dark green, we have BoA.
And in the bottom right, in the gray, it is IRK's Dewalt.
Now, earlier today, we saw a game with Dewalt. Remember that game? That was the PvP, Mihai? What happened in that game?
You talking to me?
That's the opponent went proxy 2 gates. Dewalt didn't scout it until later, and he still stopped it, and he held it easily.
Oh, yeah. The guy there, what was his name?
Pato, ASL Pato.
Yeah, Pato.
Yeah, we don't know who that guy was. However, he was not. It was not the opening
cannons,
round
too.
of ASL. It
No,
was
later.
He had gotten a couple rounds. Yeah, so Dewalt, despite. Oh, I love this. He scouted his main for potential proxy gates. This is Overwatch, of course. You can do that. So smart move from Dewalt. We can see that BoA is going to do the same thing. Remember last season, Dewalt did proxy somebody. So this is in his arsenal. It's not just going to be, Dewalt being the one that's.
You know what's funny?
Standard.
I remember, wasn't it BoA that 2-gated Dewalt on Sylphid in the middle of the map and killed him?
Oh yeah, he did do that. I do remember that. Yes.
So, well, we'll see. Overwatch, I mean, it's very easy to scout proxy locations on this map, and you see Dewalt actually going to the side there with this initial probe, very aware. Of course, he got proxy gated not too long ago in the ASL, like literally today in the ASL qualifier, so definitely fresh in his mind. BoA, though, so far is playing pretty standard. Dewalt as well. Usually you get the Zealot here with the core. Zealot starts chasing the probe around. Of course, the Zealot early on in PvP is important because, some people might think, oh, why not just go straight Dragoon? But this Zealot is really important for stuff like even, 2-gate in main with the Zealots coming out. You can't just hold with Dragoons only. The Zealots can get into your mineral line and do a lot of damage. So the early Zealot here is pretty important. Sometimes some players like going for 2 Zealots. But given the fact that they're both scouting each other and seeing the 1 gate, most likely it is Dragoon follow-up here with the range. And then probes come out, and this is where the tech can deviate now. Dewalt could put something down because BoA's probe went out even before Dewalt's 3rd gate, or 3rd pylon, and BoA's putting down the 2nd gate. So this is kind of the more robust build here from BoA.
This is gonna be 3-gate. Is it gonna be 3-gate?
No, this
I
this
thought
gate
the
is
probe
too
was
early.
setting up. Yeah, I thought the probe was setting up like it was gonna put a 3rd gate down. Now that probe, I think drilled. Oh no, that's Dewalt's probe coming back. Now I'm trying to think back to other PvP games I saw of Dewalt. Remember last season versus Oyuji? Can't remember the exact build, but as it was unfolding, I was watching it and I was like, this doesn't beat anything. But it was a direct counter to what Oyuji was doing, and he just had like a soul read on Oyuji. I have to go rewatch that game to see exactly what it was. But this is pretty standard from Dewalt. This is going to be Robo follow-up. He does have range coming in. This is going to be a Robo coming in for BoA in the next couple seconds. So basically mirrored builds except an extra gate for BoA so far. So it looks like he may try and put some pressure on, but he's really not going to find success, especially on a map like Overwatch where there's a ramp that Dewalt can just sit on.
Well, this 2-gate is... I like this 2-gate build. I think if I were to play PvP, I would play it a lot. Because it's like you get this power spike here with the 4 goons that can really pressure any build that isn't a 2-gate. So he's going to be able to push in here, get some scouting off, and then just back off and be really safe. He has a lot of units and then has a robotics coming with this. Whereas the 1-gate robo can be a bit flimsy at this point. And you have really like no information. So, you know, this 2-gate kind of not necessarily anything other than a very robust build. And you can see BoA can come here. Now he knows that his opponent does not have the 2-gate, most likely putting him on 1-gate something right now. And that's a lot of valuable information.
Shut up and
Angry Poft, thank you so much for the very nice donation. As we've mentioned before, we've already hit the goal for Season 12, so BSL is going to happen, but we appreciate all the donations. They will be used towards other tournaments and potentially going into Season 13. Yeah, as you mentioned, there are 2 gates for BoA. We know that, right? Dewalt doesn't know this, so he might be thinking that this is a 3-gate follow-up, but I think
Dewalt should know, though, like,
yeah,
because of the timing, yeah. I think that's what's nice about PvP. The only thing that BoA doesn't know is, because this could be 3-gate, and Dewalt could come down his ramp anytime now with a bunch of goons, but at that point, BoA could just run away. Like, that's what's nice about PvP. It's very non-committal. Like, your units just, you know, they can recharge their shields and just run away from the enemy unit. So there's a lot of poking to do in this matchup in order to get scouting information. I think both players kind of know where both are at. And now Dewalt, obviously, he's going to shoot these Dragoons away. And he'll see that BoA is playing quite passively. Well, he doesn't want to lose this Reaver, but it is on the ramp. So the high ground is going to give it a lot of defense here. And BoA taking a couple shots. He just wants to delay Dewalt from taking his Nexus too early, but this is a bit greedy. Okay, finally BoA is going to leave. Not before losing another 1 or 2 Dragoons even.
Oh, he loses 3 goons, really, because the Reaver already killed one of them. And behind this, BoA's playing a pretty unsafe build because that's a Nexus going up. And we know that the Robo was much faster for Dewalt, so Shuttle should be coming out pretty soon, and BoA may not have a shuttle in time to micro his Reaver with. Now behind this, Dewalt is putting up a Nexus himself. I'm looking at supply, pretty much even. Of course, those 3 goon losses does put BoA a little bit down. Oh, he may lose another goon. He does pick off the Observer. That's great. However, if he's going to bleed another goon off, I'm not sure if that's exactly worth. But because this is that small, tiny choke, Dewalt is not able to actually push through. Now, I'm looking on the other side. I think the shuttle is out. Yeah, it is moving across the map. So Reaver and goon pressure is going to hit BoA, and I'm not too sure if he can hold it, especially since Dewalt has 2 Zealots to soak up some of those goon hits.
Yeah, we'll see. But, you know, BoA does have the nice choke here. He has his own Reaver. His shuttle should be coming unless he's going for the second Reaver, which would also help. But BoA pushing out really early. He's trying to get the shuttle. Oh, he does have that Observer spotting it. And now a second Reaver, but Dewalt pounces on the first Reaver. The second Reaver from BoA has to work a miracle here. The shuttle goes down, though, so he can actually snipe the Reaver, and his Reaver's behind, totally safe. So actually, BoA's going to get the better end of this trade here and holds his expand. No, he doesn't, because actually Dewalt cleans up the rest of the Dragoons. This Reaver has to do God's work. It looks like he's microing it perfectly, though. And BoA will hold by the skin of his teeth. That was sick from BoA. Now he has an expansion. Of course, Dewalt finished his. Both players trading blow for blow.
Yeah, they're going to both trade armies. BoA lost 2 Reavers there, though. And meanwhile, Dewalt only lost 1. So big losses, I think, more so on BoA's side. Sure, he salvaged the attack. However, those probes were not mining. We can see that there still is a 4 supply lead for Dewalt. 3rd and 4th gateway going up for Dewalt. 3rd gate is already done for BoA. There goes the 4th gate. So maybe pretty much even at this point. I still think I would favor Dewalt's position just slightly, but overall nothing really catastrophic. Now I'm trying to look, or I was looking in the main to see if we had Citadel anywhere, but definitely do not, especially since there's only 1 gas at the natural. Not going to be able to afford that Templar tech and Reaver tech at the same time, at least not just yet. BoA slightly pulling ahead in supply, and mineral count is, and well, resource count is basically identical. There's the second Reaver for Dewalt. I was wondering if he was going to have another one coming out anytime soon. Shuttle should be coming out relatively soon, but everything looks pretty much even on both sides.
Yeah, this is a sick game. Both players playing very solidly, and you see that, you know, obviously they both went for the robotics, and they also have observers out, so can't really do some cheeky kind of DT play, late DT play that runs around and snipes stuff that we've seen before in the BSL, especially from you know, some players do like to skip sometimes the observer, but obviously when you have the robotics, there's really no reason to. Both players now getting more shuttles and reavers here, replacing their losses from the earlier engagement. They're both tied in supply, so it really is up to whoever gets the better.
Oh no, the shuttle!
BoA, the shuttle does see. I mean, he just flies it back in. He cannot lose this shuttle. Is it just one reaver though? Because the wall.
I think it is. I think it is
so aggressive, man. Like,
yeah, but I'm surprised at how aggressive he is. But he's drawn Dewalt slightly out of position. So if he could have gotten into that choke area faster, maybe he could have dealt a little bit of damage. But there is double reaver. So third reaver even coming out for Dewalt. And this is more goons for BoA right now on the low ground. But Dewalt has more on the high. Oh no! One of the reaver instantly goes down. Another one is scrambling to get into position. There's goons in Dewalt's main right now that are not fighting. They've got to come down and help this battle. 2 reavers versus 1. They're haymakers, but now Dewalt is connecting with his reaver himself. But look at how many goons are left over for... another reaver goes down for Dewalt, and this might just be BoA pushing through.
BoA has even more units coming in. Dewalt does have some more units filtering from his main, but I don't know if it's going to be enough because now Dragoons are about to join in from BoA's side. He will lose this reaver though, but he does have he has a huge advantage in terms of the Dragoon count. 4 Dragoons to 1, and even more coming down from the main base. So it looks like BoA is going to be able to kill this Nexus, and with this Nexus gone, I mean, Dewalt, how does he recover?
Oh, he's not recovering. Double reaver already out for BoA. He just needs to get a shuttle out. But he's got arc advantage over this Nexus. Probes aren't mining there. Look at the supply lead, 20 supply lead for BoA. Probes are going to have to help during this battle. But there's just flat out too many goons. What is it, 8 versus 4? This is going to be BoA ending game 1 with a victory.
Yeah, he's killing all the probes now. So, you know, especially once you start killing the probes, without trading units for them, you start kind of snowballing because BoA is mining at full efficiency this entire time, and he already has a supply lead, so it's only going to get bigger. It looks like Dewalt is trying desperately to increase his gate count to compensate, but BoA has 2 reavers just chilling in the middle of the map. His shuttle does come out, and it looks like he does notice it. You see his mini-map screen there, but yeah, it looks like this is going to be really, really tough for Dewalt to hold, especially once these reavers can't get in. Even these Dragoons, BoA does outnumber Dewalt slightly, and he is going to push, but wait for the shuttle to come in to really seal the deal. Dewalt does have a reaver crawling through the ramp there, but it does not have shuttle support, and BoA notices this, so instantly he snipes Dewalt's reaver with his own, and Dewalt GG's. So first game goes to BoA.
So you talked about it earlier, the only victory last season versus Dewalt in the round robin stages, it was BoA, and he's proving that that was no fluke. That was almost mirrored builds. So yeah, the fact that he won that means he just flat out microed, out macroed Dewalt. The trade at BoA's base also went in his favor. He survived with 1 extra goon. Now, of course, that could have been the difference there, but I don't think, or the difference in the secondary fight, but I don't think so.
No, it just came down to that second fight where BoA just had better connections on the reaver, and Dewalt's reaver went down earlier. That's it. Like, literally, they were even. And that second fight, you know, it was kind of weird how BoA positioned himself, kind of running straight to attack Dewalt. I don't know why he felt so confident in his attack timing there. Maybe he thought that he had the faster Nexus, and he successfully defended the earlier attack, but the reality was they were both neck and neck tied, and BoA just had a better engagement, and that's really all it comes down to. So BoA is going to win this first game. Dewalt has to think about, you know, what his second map is.
Yeah, and you remembered that Dewalt got proxy gated on Sylphid last season, so Dewalt has to keep that in mind, that BoA's not necessarily going to play straight up. So he's got to consider, like, okay, well, do I want to play Sylphid versus this guy? Do I want to play Eclipse versus this guy? Should I just play Polypoid versus him and keep it on a bigger map?
Yeah.
Those are things to think about. That positioning last game, the second attack, I like what Dewalt did where he kept goons in his main, but then he just didn't respond fast enough. And even if he did, the way it was set up, the arc of Dewalt kind of didn't allow the goons to ever get into position. Like, they blocked themselves in. So it was really nicely done from BoA. And as you also mentioned, that it was kind of surprising that BoA went for that attack, because they were even. I was surprised also, but it was a really nice move, nice clever move, because it forced Dewalt into his main, and BoA capitalized. So let's see the pick. Oh, of course, get you baited.
Yeah, well, it goes to show, you know, StarCraft is not just about strategy, it's not just about build orders, it's not just about tactics. Sometimes it just comes down to the execution in the fights, because really there's nothing more to say to that game. You know, they were even throughout the game. Dewalt did pull ahead earlier on. Polypoid is going to be the pick, which is interesting because there are a lot of proxy locations here, but the game is ready. Game 2, Dewalt versus BoA.
In the top right, in the green, it is Dewalt.
And bottom right in the blue, it is BoA.
Yeah, so you can proxy on this map. Of course, in the center, I've had people go for the gold and go for the 2/3 chance proxy, for example, at top middle. Don't think that's going to happen. Well, it's not going to happen because neither player has sent out their initial probes. Earlier today, as I mentioned, we saw somebody go for proxy gates versus Dewalt, and he responded perfectly. So I'm wondering if we may see a 2-gate opener from either of these players. Unlikely, however, it is possible.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, literally anything can happen. 4-player maps, of course, can have more variance in terms of build orders. But both these players, I mean, Dewalt is a solid player. You know, he's really strong. But one thing is that he can be predictable. You know, he plays standard, and that's it. Doesn't throw something in. BoA, you know, BoA is actually a really solid player himself. He has a strong macro game. But he's also got a range of build orders in all matchups, and he's not afraid to mix in like DT rush, not afraid to mix in proxy gates, not afraid to mix in an array of different aggressive options. And yeah, there you go. So BoA is gonna 2-gate. That's not surprising to me. He really does have
and he gets
a lot of builds, and it's first scout. So this, you know, if Dewalt, for example, if he skips a zealot, he dies.
So I wonder if Dewalt is going to scout BoA first. Now, there was a comment Artosis made. Oh, he's not. And this is what I was wondering. There's a comment that Artosis made about TT1 telling him the scout patterns of Protoss. And TT1 just basically said that every Protoss scouts vertically. And that's what happened with BoA here, is he scouted vertically and he finds him first. Oh, what is Dewalt's pattern here? He's trying to scout for the proxy gates, and then he hooks around to bottom right. So it looks like TT1 has called the scout patterns for the Protoss players so far. Zealot on the ramp. Now, it is low enough that I don't think the probe will see the second gate. Oh, he does. No, that is a blunder big time for BoA to let Dewalt see that. Now Dewalt will be able to put up his second gate in time. Now, this is always the question for me, is what's the follow-up for BoA? It looks like this is going to be gas. However, if you play ladder, a lot of times this follow-up is straight forge. So we'll see if he wants to. Yeah, he's gonna have that cyber index coming up pretty soon. Now, I still see only one gate for Dewalt. I'm surprised.
Well, I mean, I don't think you need to overreact here and get the second gate, because look, the Dragoon is out. this is really just about the micro from Dewalt, how well he can hold these zealots. The shield battery is the correct play here. It's cheap and it helps with the Dragoon. It helps with the probes kind of sitting there and recharging the batteries. He does not want to get this Dragoon stuck by the probe. Okay, that was close. And really, the onus is on BoA to get in here and get some damage done because his tech is going to be delayed and the Dragoon count will increase. One zealot already goes down before any probes die. So this, you see Dewalt already has 2 goons out. BoA needs to get some probe kills here or else he's in a really bad spot. But of course, behind this, he will have 2-gate Dragoon. Looks like he's not even gonna get 1 probe. This was a disaster for... Okay, BoA gets 1 probe.
Almost gets 2. And that would have maybe not been a favorable trade for BoA, but it definitely evened it up a bit. Now, the cybernetics is surprisingly fast for BoA. I thought that Dewalt was going to have a bigger range timing than he's going to have. It looks like this range timing is maybe... Oh, there we go. I was thinking maybe it's like 45 seconds delayed compared to Dewalt. Well, this is one way that you can punish somebody that's on only 1 gate, and he's going to go straight into 3-gate as a follow-up.
Yeah, the 3-gate is surprising. It's very surprising, actually, because he did see in Dewalt's base that there was only 1 gate. Though against robotics, that does mean that Dewalt... See, here's what I'm thinking. I think BoA thinks that maybe Dewalt held that well enough that he will just try and expand off of the one robo. And this 3-gate is meant to punish a follow-up expand. But Dewalt, look at that, getting the robotics and then the 2nd gate. So he has a very good read on what he should be doing in this situation, playing a bit more passively than, you know, especially after you hold 3 zealots. You could trade 1 probe for 3 zealots and the scouting probe, because BoA had his probe there. You know, a player can easily be like, you know what, I'm going to get a robotics and just expand, because I'm going to have enough units off this 1 gate to fend off whatever your follow-up is off the 2 gate. And BoA mixing in the 3rd gate there to try and throw Dewalt off, but this time around, Dewalt just playing really solidly and defensively here. I really like this.
Yeah, I'm wondering how he's going to use this 3-gate. Of course, just looking at, or just usually 3-gate means you're just going for it. But if you think about what Dewalt has with the shield battery, he's got high ground also. He can micro the goons, let them take a couple hits, micro back, use the shield battery, and come back. So I kind of hope that BoA shows like a certain amount of goons and then hides some over to the side somewhere. Maybe when Dewalt goes for an attack, he underestimates exactly what the army count is for BoA and overextends a little bit. But instead, BoA is going to move out. I'm not surprised by it, but I was hoping that he would kind of show that he doesn't have, or kind of hide his goon count. And I don't think this is going to do anything. Like I said, the high ground advantage is massive. He's got the battery. Reaver is going to be coming out pretty soon too, and that is another zealot. So 3 zealots to buffer the damage.
This is meant to punish the Nexus. He's going to come in here and see there's no Nexus. You know, BoA can try to sit on the low ground here. No, you see, as soon as there's no Nexus, BoA kind of retreats. And yeah, because of course BoA is aware that if there's no Nexus, it's most likely a robotics here coming. So he has to defend. You can see he's actually moving to the right here in anticipation of a shuttle coming. Makes a lot of sense just based off what he's seeing. Because anyway, he's retreating back to base. I really like this movement from BoA. It's so smart. It's so smart. Though obviously he's at a disadvantage.
I like this from Dewalt because he knows where the army is, so he can just move his goons into position and pick off straggler units like that one potentially. The goon barely sees the shuttle, so it's going to be BoA scrambling to get into position in his main, because right now there's nothing. Luckily for him, Dewalt didn't go into the main because he would have dealt insane amounts of damage to that probe line. Oh, he's going in now, and still those units are on the 3rd base high ground. There's no defense right now in BoA's base.
Yeah, BoA. Oh man, this Reaver is going to get so much damage. 1 Dragoon pops out from BoA, but 1 Dragoon's not going to be enough to stop the shuttle and the Reaver. Looks like Dewalt is prioritizing. Maybe kind of unfortunate that that Dragoon got so many hits onto the shuttle, because now it's weak, and I think this Reaver's just going to go down. He doesn't really kill too many probes for it. The Reaver and the shuttle both going down, but this does create an opportunity for Dewalt to bring his main army down to BoA's natural. We'll have to see. BoA has to get into position before he gets contained on top of his ramp. Dewalt sees this weakness, but now he's fighting against Dragoons that are on high ground, so this is actually pretty favorable for BoA. And finally, BoA does get down onto the natural location, and his Nexus is finished. Oh my god, that was a huge blunder by Dewalt. He kind of frivolously just went for the probe kills, ignoring the one Dragoon hitting his shuttle, and paid the price for it. I mean, if Dewalt had the shuttle there with the Reaver, he definitely could have punished this Nexus. So I don't know, kind of just unfortunate there for Dewalt, because he had enough units to kill this Nexus with the Reaver, man.
Yeah, a bit of an overextension with the Reaver, and he gets punished hard. Not only losing the Reaver, but losing the shuttle and 2 Zealots in the shuttle. So that's an expensive loss. Meanwhile, Dewalt, he's okay. He's got a supply lead right now, but BoA does have double Nexus up and running. Okay, that was a misstep there. BoA was not aware of where Dewalt's units actually are, because remember, his Robo is really, really late. There's no observer for him either. The first Reaver is coming out. Now Dewalt, again, has an opportunity to push into the main if he wants to, but I think he's just going to go for the throat. He's got a lot more goons than BoA right now, and he has those Zealots still alive. And he has the shuttle, of course.
Yeah, with the shuttle, this is really what changes this engagement, but sick awareness by BoA. He does have an observer, snipes Dewalt's observer, so it's going to make it much harder for Dewalt to come in here. We'll have to see. The shuttle is flying around. If he loses the shuttle, it'll be huge. But Reaver from BoA does come out and pulls it back in. You know, BoA desperately... I mean, I wonder here if BoA is going for that shuttle himself or for the second Reaver. Probably when you're in defensive posture like this, second Reaver is more valuable than the shuttle. But it cannot be understated just how important this shuttle is in the early engagements, because the shuttle does allow you to kind of poke up with the Reavers and fight the opposing Reavers, especially if the opposing Reavers do not have that shuttle support.
Well, this shuttle has 2 Reavers now. It is softened up, so the shuttle's got to be really, really careful. The observer is out for BoA too, and it's not been spotted. But this does look like a bit more goons. Well, I guess the army looks pretty even. But again, no shuttle for BoA here. However, those goons are sharking on the left side of the map. Every time... Oh, that's a great hit. Hits 3 of the goons, and they're going to take a big hit.
Yeah, and look at how BoA just can't really contest these Reavers. It's so risky because, look, Dewalt just has to pick them off, but he does do it in conjunction with a bunch of his Reavers to try and snipe the shuttle, but it goes down. But not before a lot of his goons go down, and now BoA's defensive position just crumbles. He had so many units on the high ground, forced to bring them down to compensate for the lost Dragoons, and Dewalt is going to be able to push through. The shuttle finally comes out, but there are no Reavers to pick off. Dewalt has done it.
Yeah, this is going to be a game-winning move for Dewalt here. He's going to tie it up. There's just not enough to, defend this natural, and that's it. That's going to be BoA tapping out, and we've got a tied series, boys.
That was a really close game. I'm actually surprised Dewalt was put on so much pressure with the shuttle there in that last couple minutes of the game, and successfully kind of avoided getting it picked off. I mean, both players were playing so well. This is really high level PvP, man.
Yeah, every time Dewalt poked in with those Reavers, I thought the shuttle was gonna get picked off at the natural. I really thought that those goons were just gonna move out at the right time and snipe the shuttle. Whether they get the shuttle with the Reavers in it is a different question, but I thought for sure he was gonna snipe the shuttle. And that is heartbreaking to see the shuttle come out, 5 seconds too late for BoA. He could have saved those Reavers if it was slightly faster. But regardless, Dewalt puts a win on the board, and now it's gonna be BoA's pick as our final match.
Yeah, we'll have to see what map he goes for, but just thinking about some of the moves that game, you know, I really liked how BoA came to the side there on the high ground on his retreat to cover the shuttle path. It's like he knew exactly what the shuttle timing was, and he saw Dewalt's observer kind of fly over his units as he pulled back, and once he left the high ground,
he sent 2 more goons there because he knew Dewalt's on retreat, so maybe Dewalt would start sending in his shuttle. But Dewalt was disciplined enough to not do that. And then BoA parked his main army on the high ground, anticipating the main army from Dewalt, probably thinking to himself, maybe the shuttle isn't actually coming after all. But then Dewalt knew that he wouldn't be able to contest the high ground there. So he sent his shuttle anyway into the main, even though that kind of backfired a bit, but he did that to pull the main army back. So really just these small, intricate interactions between these two players kind of show just how insanely high level both of them are.
Yeah, I think what you said is exactly correct. The real only misstep was the overextension with the Reaver. He could have just unloaded, killed some probes, and left. Like, forcing a probe pull is already a lot of damage. People don't realize that you pull 12 probes and they're not mining even for a second. You know, they have to resituate back onto the minerals. Some of them were already mining and it got interrupted. It's a lot of damage even though you don't kill anything. So I'm not surprised with this because we saw proxy gates last time they faced off in BSL10. So it's going to be Sylphid. Let's see if BoA can take it home or if Dewalt can move into the winner's bracket. Right, in the top middle, we have our Russian Protoss player looking very dominant these days. It is Dewalt.
And in the bottom left, in the red, the American, Canadian, Korean Protoss player, it is BoA. Now, BoA actually has lived in Canada most of it, or a significant portion of his life, though for the tournament, he is representing America because he moved there to work. But yeah, just kind of an NA situated Korean player, really nice guy. Plays with all. He actually plays with all the North American players. He also plays with a lot of his. He's actually friends with Soma, among others, and Sori. So he was kind of a really solid player in the fish days of Korean amateur StarCraft. Dewalt himself, as I understand it, has been practicing with pros. He played a marathon series against Action. Like, I don't know, they played like, what, 10, 20 games? A bunch of practice games. Dewalt has been practicing like no other. So, you know, both these players are ridiculously high level.
Yeah, we do see that Dewalt's scouting the middle again. He's making sure that there's not going to be a repeat of last season. So far, basically the same build from both sides. We've got Gateway Assimilator, and that is going to be another scout coming from BoA. And we're going to really just wait and see how many Zealots is he going to build. It looks like straight Cybernetics for BoA. Dewalt has... Okay, he just built his Cybernetics also. So pretty much basically identical. I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to cut a probe to build the Zealot. Doesn't look like it just yet, though.
Yeah, and Sylphid is an interesting choice by BoA.
BoA with the Zealot. Meanwhile, Dewalt, no Zealot.
Yeah, I mean, it can be extremely useful. The thing is, the Zealot, like, it's useful at all stages of this early game, right? Like, just one Zealot there to... Yeah, like, one Zealot and 2 Dragoons can do really well, even against, like, 3 Dragoons. And then the 3rd Dragoon comes, like, 3 Zealots, one Zealot, 3 Dragoons can do well versus 4 Dragoons, stuff like that. Like, the Zealot is pretty good, actually, in the composition, to be completely honest. So it's not clear that, you know, just because you skip the Zealot, you're ahead, right? But Sylphid is an interesting choice by BoA because Protoss versus Protoss, it's very dictated by the ramp, right? Like whether you have a ramp or not. The first 2 maps we saw, Overwatch and Polypoid, there is a high ground for the main. There is a ramp to work with. But once you get rid of that ramp, suddenly tech builds become a lot more dangerous, and gateway builds become a lot more common. Because once your opponent gets kind of a Dragoon contain on you, even if you have Reavers, it's, you know, in the Overwatch game, we saw Dewalt use the ramp and Reaver to his advantage to basically fend off BoA's contain. But if that situation were to occur on this map, probably BoA would have sniped the Reaver coming out and trying to poke him out. So, you know, on Sylphid, I don't know what that means about the player, but it looks like BoA is more comfortable with kind of these aggro situations in PvP, where he has to get a bunch of more gateways. I mean, we saw it last game on the Polypoid map. He did opt to go for the early 2-gate into 3-gate, and even in Overwatch, he went for the early 2-gate and pressure. So maybe that's why BoA does like these this map Sylphid. But what do we see there, Nyokin?
That is going to be a Citadel. So we're going to have DT follow-up, delayed DT. This is not straight DT. Neither player ended up going for like a fake range with weapon being upgraded. And Dewalt, that should be a Robo coming in for him. And this should be in time with the Observer. However, a lot of Protoss players do just send their first Observer across the map. So he's got to be careful to not send it right when the DT moves across the map. Otherwise, he's going to be in big time trouble, because every game so far we've seen has only been one Observer straight into shuttle. So we'll see if that's going to be what Dewalt goes for again. He's got 5 goons versus 4. Despite BoA having the faster second gate, he has a lower goon count right now. He can win this, or Dewalt can win this fight if he micros perfectly. Of course, BoA can too. The Zealot soaks up so many hits. So we'll see if Dewalt wants to push the issue. Okay, 5th goon is out for BoA now, so there's no way Dewalt can win the fight now. Both players just scouting, really. 6th goon even out for BoA, and Templar Archive looks like it's about halfway done now. Oh, almost done.
I actually saw a game between Dewalt and Oyeji in the Best of the Best series, not like this week or a couple days ago. Just kind of on my usual perusal of the Twitch of the StarCraft category on Twitch, and they both went DTs on Sylphid. It was kind of really clowny, actually, because it turns out you can block your entrance with DTs, and the opposing DTs can't get through.
Yeah.
I actually never thought of that. It's so funny, but looks like Dewalt is going to have a nice solid read on this DT build from BoA. But, you know, what's nice about having DTs against Observers is that your Templar Archives is already finished. And because you force Observers before the Reavers, that means that the Reaver push comes in a bit later. So you have time to prepare and even maybe get Storm. So it's not quite clear. Of course, Dewalt does see the DTs. Yeah, really nice play having that Dragoon forward there. It's not necessarily like a hard counter here, though obviously the Observer build is favored. I mean, these DTs will be completely shut down.
Look at him hiding that Observer until the last moment and making sure that he kills both the DTs. And BoA is in big time trouble, because behind this he went Nexus and spending all those resources into DTs that did nothing. Dewalt can just flat out kill him right now. However, 3rd gate going down for BoA. He's going to try and salvage the game by having an overwhelming gateway count. First Reaver is out already. As I mentioned, Dewalt goes straight into that shuttle or straight into Reaver. If the DT blur was not seen, those 2 DTs may have ended the game.
Yeah, and I mean, there's clearly no way BoA can make anything work from this Templar Archives just yet off of 1 gas, right? You can't just Q2 Templar and get Storm here, so he does have to go up to 4 gate and compensate for the Reaver by having more units. Yeah, I mean, when you lose your DTs like that, it's really bad. You know what? Never mind what I said. This is terrible for BoA. I don't know how he's going to be able to hold the Reaver push here from Dewalt. He's down in army supply, and Dewalt does have the compositional advantage because of the Reaver. You know, maybe if he would have kept the DTs alive and delayed this push from Dewalt, it would be good. But at the same time, you know, Dewalt can't necessarily just push out. I mean, no, but here's the thing. You see, Dewalt does have the 2nd Observer, so that's already delaying his shuttle. He can't just attack, right? Because if he moves his entire army and there's a DT lingering around, then it really puts him kind of in a very volatile situation. So, yeah, despite the fact that Dewalt completely shut that down, it's not like he can just immediately convert his advantage into a win, and BoA has a lot of time to just get gateways because he himself knows that there are no DTs coming from Dewalt, so he doesn't have to put resources into something like a robotics and an observatory. So really, BoA is doing a good job to bounce back from this bad situation, this kind of disadvantageous position. But this push from Dewalt, when it does come, will be scary.
Yeah, you can see that that is a lot of goons from BoA though, and I love the pylon placement, scouting for potential shuttle drop. What BoA needs to do is get Templars out and potentially get Storm. That's one way to salvage the game. I'm surprised that Dewalt did not attack this entire time. You see Cannon is going up for him in his main. He doesn't want to get DT dropped. Now he's moving across the map. Those Templars did just pop out. They need about 20 more seconds. So for now, Dewalt has a little bit of an opportunity, but you can see that BoA is sharking around the right side of the map, trying to get into a flank position, but he seems way too far out of position. Archon Morph, that's not Storm.
This is so weird. What are those units? Well, BoA is clearly trying to intercept a shuttle, but it was never there, and now Dewalt is in position. These two Reavers are getting so much damage onto the Dragoons from BoA. Finally, BoA's units reinforce here. The Zealots are going to run in, soak up some damage. Probably Zealot speed is on the way, but not ready for this fight, and Dewalt is going to pull ahead massively. The two Reavers are still alive. He has more Dragoons at this point. And yeah, that's going to be it. I mean, BoA's going to have such a hard time dealing with this army now.
Yeah, that's going to be GG. BoA out of position for just a moment, and Dewalt capitalizes. Now, I don't think necessarily BoA would have won the fight anyways. However, having 8-9 units at the bottom of the side of the map did not help at all. That's a bit of an anti-timing. As you mentioned, he was looking to intercept the shuttle that never came. And a bit unfortunate for him that the DTs ended up getting scouted. I was surprised that he kind of just ran into that goon because he sent out multiple probes checking for potential army size and stuff like that. So he knew the goon was there. So that was a little surprising. And if you actually rewatch, the Dewalt's observer was going to BoA's base and it turned back. So a bit of luck on Dewalt's side there.
Well, again, pretty 500 IQ plays from both players. It's kind of hard to, you know, guys, like when you evaluate these games, you really have to put yourselves in the position of the players that have imperfect information, because that's how the decisions are made. It's not made on the replay screen, it's not made on the observer screen. So a lot of these moves that they make might look weird, like why is BoA's like half his army on the other side of the map when the push is clearly coming? But there's a lot more that comes into there's a lot more that goes into those decisions than you would think. So both players actually played really well. That was a 6 series, I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorites so far. Dewalt is gonna advance 2-1 against BoA, and BoA will be in the elimination match waiting for the loser of KwarK versus SPX, and Dewalt will be waiting for the winner of that match. But KwarK versus SPX is going to be next. Don't go away. And True Touch is going to be able to basically deny this mineral line, but Bonneth does have 2 Corsairs. If he can save this Corsair, oh my god, it goes down. So now Bonneth, really, he's down to 1 Nexus.
And now that opens up the door for the Lings to just flood in on top of those cannons, and they get instantly on top of all of them. Meanwhile, the Mutas turned around to defend the Zealots, and look, the Zealots are actually turning around.
What is True Touch doing this game? He's just absolutely slapping Bonneth with kind of an impromptu build, like a completely improvised tactic here.
And now we're starting to get to the point in the game where Bonneth has to be worried about actually mining out, because it's approaching 17 minutes. We're at 14 right now, so about 2 to 3 more minutes left. But those are amazing storms, game-saving storms potentially.
But this Nexus is... And True Touch is going to be able to basically deny this mineral line, but Bonneth does have 2 Corsairs. If he can save this Corsair, oh my god, it goes down. So now Bonneth, really, he's down to 1 Nexus.
And now that opens up the door for the Lings to just flood in on top of those cannons, and they get instantly on top of all of them. Meanwhile, the Mutas turned around to defend the Zealots, and look, the Zealots are actually turning around.
What is TrueTouch doing this game? He's just absolutely slapping Bonnet with kind of an impromptu build, like a completely improvised tactic here.
And now we're starting to get to the point in the game where Bonnet has to be worried about actually mining out because it's approaching 17 minutes. We're at 14 right now, so about 2 to 3 more minutes left. But those are amazing storms, game-saving storms potentially.
But this Nexus is getting targeted. Is it going to go down? It's going to be so close. I don't think there's quite enough, but with these units coming from the north side, oh my god, the Nexus goes down, and kind of a YOLO play almost from TrueTouch, but it does work out.
I think if Hawk's going to play this style, he needs to go for this fight because it's only 8 Goliath versus like 20 units. Okay, now he's realized that, hey, the Goliath count is simply too low, and now he's going to try and engage it. First vessel pops out, but because the nat gas was so late, I don't even think a radiate is complete just yet. So the vessel right now can't do anything. If he finds the vessel and he gets taken down, which he's going to find, this is going to be a massive win for him. Also, the armory is up there. If he snipes the armory, this game's done. Meanwhile, Goliaths are just dying left and right. You can see the power of unupgraded Goliaths versus Mutalisks. They're just way too strong. So another nice move from TrueTouch here. He's going to get a couple drones basically for free. There goes 1, 2, 3. Probably the whole line is going to get wiped out before these Mutalisks gets into position. It looks like he got 6 or so. Meanwhile, Lings attack the natural. And this is just what happens once you fall behind in ZVZ. You get picked apart. And unfortunately, this is going to be Hawk falling 2-0. And TrueTouch, one of the best players in the history of BSL, he's going to easily make it out of Group A.
I feel like Mendinho barely missed his timing. He took a bit too long to get across the map. I mean, he still has a lot of Goliaths here, but remember, these aren't like +2 Goliaths, and that's +1 attack on carrier, so they're going to be able to completely wreck whatever they target fire instantly. The tanks are going to go down in a matter of seconds, and the Goliaths are simply not dishing out enough damage to keep the interceptors back from firing.
And look at the carrier control. He didn't lose a single one. All he really lost there were Zealots. I don't think a single goon died at all either. So now there's a 25 supply lead for Bonnet. More tanks are getting picked off left and right. And this is kind of just what happens once Bonnet gets carriers. There's just nothing really you can do. Remember, he even sniped the shuttle that had all the Reavers, and it still wasn't enough.
These 4 Reavers are going to do a massive amount of damage, but the shuttles did get picked off by those Scourge. So these Reavers can get surrounded.
Yeah, that was a crucial catch right there to catch all those shuttles. And now the Reavers are going to be somewhat exposed, but because of how much AoE there's, that's another massive play. Just so much. 6 Reavers. Holy moly. It looks like this might just be a death push. There's really not a great way for Zerg to engage. Well, that's one way. Go for a massive flank, but Bonnet sees it with his observer.
Oh, but they already went down! All the Reavers, they got too far forward and got shot by that sunk. Only 1 Reaver remaining, and I was going to say, this is do or die for Protoss. If he loses this army, he's going to lose all the map control that he has, and Hawk... Nayokin, I think Hawk's done it, man. He's in such a commanding position. Protoss is ahead, 30 supply already. You don't usually see these margins these days because Protoss has to delay their timing so much by getting cannons early. Here comes the attack, and Hawk has to pull drones. This is so scary. He has no anti-air to deal with these Corsairs. The Zealots are just going to push through here. The 2 Sunkens are doing work. Mutos do pop out, though, but this is 6 Corsairs with +1. What was... Hawk just did not notice that Protoss was committed to these Corsairs, and
he can't do anything because he's supply blocked. He can't build any units. That's it. There's no Sunkens to defend. And with the Sunkens falling down and more Zealots streaming across the map, this is going to be game over unless these Scourge somehow miraculously kill every Sayer. They did a good job, but the Mutalisks just aren't strong enough to deal with the Sayers. There's still 4 left over.
Yeah, and that's going to be it. GG. Oh,
we're back. I guess we're not going to have that PVOD. So we're back with the round of 16. It's going to be our last day. Group D. We just saw Dewalt move into the winner's side of the bracket. Unfortunately, BoA going to be moving into the bottom side. But now we're going to be getting into a PVT. It's going to be one of our regular BSL players in SPX going up against a newcomer in KwarK. I think, from what I remember from KwarK's profile, he's coming up from Ghostal League. And remember last season or a couple seasons ago, Oh, did he qualify through ladder? Well, I was thinking that Oyaji is one of the players that came up through Ghost League has moved all the way into the round of 4 last season. So definitely KwarK has potential to go pretty deep.
Well, I think this season there actually weren't any seeds from Ghost League, but if you did well in Ghost League, you got points added to your ladder total. Right. Yeah. So, but KwarK made it in the first wave there before when the ladder randomly reset. So yeah, and we saw him completely dismantle the 2 NA Zerg, Striker and Crossy, which was a surprising result to say the least to get here, but definitely earning his spot in the round of 16 because those 2 players are no joke. Well, or at least was it Cross? It was Cross and Striker, right? Like literally in succession. So we'll have to see here how he does against SPX. Now SPX is a regular of the BSL, as you mentioned, Nayukin, and he's a very solid Terran player, has been a solid Terran player from Russia for a really long time now, and he likes to play kind of a standard game. And yeah, I mean, this could go either way.
Yeah, no, those builds versus Crossy and Striker were interesting, and those are builds that you can play versus, well, sort of builds that you can play versus Terran. Proxy gates you can play versus Terran, so SPX is going to have to keep that in mind, that hey, maybe KwarK is just going to do some type of, you know, very aggressive play in the early stages. Now my experience versus SPX is, you know, of course TVT so different, however he is aggressive with early Marines and Vultures, so we may see something like an FD come out from him. Yesterday we saw Kogut go for 10-10-10. And, you know, every season I talk about how SPX is kind of like a miniature Dandy. Now, of course, Kogut is different than Dandy, but SPX may be mimicking play he saw yesterday from Kogut. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see a 10-10-10. Remember, first map is also, what was it today? Overwatch. And that is a map that tends to be aggressive. So there could be some type of shenanigans from either side. You can do BBS on that map. You can, remember, when Overwatch is in the ladder pool, well, I know for a fact you remember this, getting proxy gated like at mid-right, for example, or mid-left in your main. And then I'm thinking back to one of our show matches of Artosis versus Tim. There were proxy gateways with DTs that just barreled down on Artosis, and we saw that yesterday from Dragon, so that's also a potential build.
Yeah, but I don't think KwarK's going to go for that. I don't think he's the type of player that actually goes proxy gate or gas steal. I think he's just going to play a very standard game. If anything, the craziest thing KwarK might pull out is his 12 Nexus, where he just goes double gate and pumps a bunch of goons and sacks his Nexus and counter all into the Terran. You know, he's wrote extensively on Team Liquid and his guides about it. He's been 2,500 Koreans on the ladder with it. So, you know, 5-head build basically, if there's going to be something that's weird. But yeah, looking at these player profiles, SPX, you can see, has been playing. He missed last season, season 10, but he has played in the previous 4 before that with, you know, strong showings in all of them. And his best matchup apparently is versus Protoss. So this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, that's surprising because almost all of the best players in PSL are Protoss or Zerg. So to see a 75% win rate there is a good sign for him. But meanwhile, KwarK, he's got a 100% win rate versus Terran, but of course his sample size is a little bit smaller. I'm kind of surprised that SPX's sample size is only 26 games, because it feels like I see him every single season. But 26 games, that's a decent amount. But Overwatch, you don't think KwarK's going to pull out anything fancy on here?
No, I know for a fact he's not going to.
Okay.
He's not going to go proxy gate or gas steal. Like, I think the most likely is that he puts 12 Nexus down and then does some crazy 2-gate all-in follow-up or something. Like, if we're talking about aggressive openings. But yeah, the Terran really, I mean, Terran usually kind of just sits back. It's kind of hard to, unless the only thing you can play aggressively against is a 12 Nexus with like an ARAX or something. But besides that, ARAX is pretty worthless. Yeah, Proxy Gate is good. Gas Steal is good. I don't think we're gonna see it though. Game is ready, so let's get into it. SPX versus KwarK.
All right, in the top left are Russian Terran. Okay, I thought we had shenanigans. It is SPX.
Bottom right, in the magenta, it is KwarK.
Yeah, yesterday we were first sure about a lot of things in the Dandy Terror game, right? We made so many predictions in that game with 100% accuracy.
Yeah,
that I'm not too sure about your
these are different
KwarK analysis.
No, these are different circumstances. These are different circumstances. That game was hilarious. Oh my god, that was actually serious.
You know, actually, some people, I read some comments, or tweeted at me that they agreed that that game was one of the best BSL games, not just one of the best TVT games in BSL, but one of the actual best games in the BSL history. It's crazy. If you haven't seen that game, definitely check it out. Now, we see there's no pylon out in the center of the map anywhere. It looks like we've got dual FP VOD, and I'm trying to see if if KwarK is going to send, yeah, there we go. He is going to build a gate, so it's not going to be the 12 Nexus that you were talking about. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, it looks like we're not too sure if SPX has gone for gas just yet. It's only 125, but I imagine he's probably going to go for gas, especially with that Rax placement.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Again, the standard right now is 12 scout, 13 gas, but some players still do enjoy going for the 12 gas, as SPX does here, and then 13 gas, or 13 scout. And yeah, I mean, we'll see exactly what happens. I think KwarK is, you know, sometimes as a player, especially if you're a bit more public and you write about your builds on Team Liquid, you might think that your opponent has done all the studying possible. And so KwarK maybe is thinking to himself, well, if I go my 12 Nexus build, this guy knows I'm just going to cut probes and go 2 gate, so he's just going to counter my build. But I don't know. He could still have done it, in my opinion. Not sure if SPX is really aware of exactly what KwarK does. I don't know if they've played many games together on the ladder or what have you, but so far SPX is getting his factory here on 16 very standard, and KwarK himself also playing very standard, so there's really not much to say at this point.
Well, something got built for KwarK that was 100. Was it 100 gas? I think it's at the bottom. Is it? No, it's not at the bottom side of his base, because that's just the pylon. I thought he spent 100 gas, but I guess it was just the Dragoon being built. It looks like range is also coming in for him. I don't think that's a fake weapon upgrade. So everything looks pretty normal. SPX on the other side has pulled off of gas, so he's going to be taking his command center pretty soon. Now, we were talking about proxy gate placement. You know, more and more people these days as Terran players, they are going for proxy starports, and Overwatch is one of the maps where you can do that. Bottom middle, bottom left, top right, mid right. I see a lot of games, Flash plays where he does that. Now, curiously, okay, SPX only builds 3 Marines. I thought we may see that FD that I was talking. Now that's interesting. He's going to build a Vulture with the 3 Marines to defend the entrance to his main.
Yeah, I usually see this Vulture, and I mean, this is nice though, because he's skipping the bunker because he has the 3 Marines, so I really do like this opening actually from SPX, and now the Vulture is going to get out onto the map and get some nice rescouting, though SPX does still have an SCV out, so he could have went for the machine shop first, but honestly, when you go with the Vulture here, it is very nice. It's kind of stable, it gets a unit out onto the map that can do some pressuring, and the thing is, if you get the machine shop, then you have to put SCVs back on gas pretty fast, so it is kind of more stable economically, and it's nice. It's nice to get this Vulture out, and it's going to see this Nexus for free. Like, you know, he knows exactly what's going on. So really nice opening here from SPX, and a lot of times you actually see Terran's kind of overreacting and putting down the bunker with 3 Marines with the Vulture. But in this case, SPX was able to get his command center before his bunker.
This goon might be dead. He might try and catch it. Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do, but he moved the Marines a little bit too quick. You can see him trying to body block with the Vulture. KwarK is just barely going to sneak by, but a really smart attempt there from SPX to try and get a free Dragoon. Now, KwarK needs to back up because that is a tank, sir, and he may be able to catch it. Nope, it is just barely going to get away. Now, in KwarK's main, I saw he put down their robotics a little bit slower. No, actually it is just on time, and this is gonna be 3-gate observer follow-up.
Yeah, KwarK plays pretty standard usually in this matchup, and to be honest, he has a style that is just very difficult to play against if you're the type of Terran that macros. I would say that KwarK is most favored against Terrans that kind of sit there and play upgrade style, because basically what happens is he's just going to take up the Arbiter and then run a bunch of recalls into you and build carriers behind it and hopes that the Terran just doesn't execute well enough to punish him. That's mostly what his playstyle is in the macro game PvT, and I'm guessing that's what we'll see here. SPX is going for the Academy first, playing it very safe, and then the Armory, though I think this is a bit inaccurate as far as builds go. You really want to get the Armory before the Academy, especially if you're going to sit on one factory like this, because you really need the upgrade to start coming in fast. Because if this upgrade doesn't come in fast, you have to put down your command center earlier, and if you put down your command center earlier and you only have one factory, just don't have that many units to take this third. But in any case, just gypsy ramblings here.
Well, this is going to be a test of SPX's ability to read the Protoss player, because this is going to be 2-base Arbiter, despite having a fast 3rd gate. He missed the Citadel scan, and that's crucial because this was a 6-minute Citadel. That means that this is 100% going to be 2-base Arbiter. There it is. And now he sees that the Stargate is being built. So this should let SPX know that, hey, despite having 3 gates, you really can't have that many units. And if you do have a lot of units, then you can't have a fast Arbiter. So what Flash likes to do versus 2-base Arbiter is go into fast 3rd base, sometimes even take a fast 4th base if it's a map like Circuit Breaker. So we'll have to see how fast SPX wants to take that 3rd base, if he's going to go for it, or is he going to attempt some type of timing. The fact that he's building an eBay makes me think that that timing is not going to happen. Now this is surprising. He's going to put down a 3rd Nexus on 3-gate while also teching hard. And you can see that he can't afford all this, right? Because he just now starts the Templar Archive, when really that Templar Archive should be an Arbiter Tribunal.
Yeah, this is...
And a shuttle.
Okay, well...
Oh, wow, this is a timing.
Yeah, this isn't a timing. I was going to say, this is... yeah, this is the KwarK build. He always does this build here. 3-gate OBS into Stargate, 3rd Nexus, and you know, I was looking at that eBay thinking to myself, I just don't understand the point of this eBay. He just scouted the robotics and Citadel. There's no reason to get an eBay. Well, unless maybe you're going for a timing, like you said, Nyokin. No, he canceled it. Okay, so that's good. And now 5 factories, he's going to be able to hit with +1. And Protoss is going to be on this 3-gate for a long time, so even though he has a decent amount of units, soon enough, Terran will spike up in production. He is getting a starport though, but if he just starts rallying vultures with this group of tanks here, he might have a chance at killing KwarK.
Well, KwarK is getting an upgrade on his cybernetics, and you can see that he actually stopped going Arbiters. He's just going to start building out mass units to try and attempt to stop this incoming 5-fact. I think this is an okay move. He needs to get Storm, though. Well, he doesn't necessarily have to get Storm. However, he needs to make a decision pretty quickly, because 5-gate is not going to beat 5 factories. So KwarK right now has a decent army. However, if mines get set up on this ramp and the tanks move into position, he could be in a little bit of trouble. Supplies are basically even right now, but you can see SPX is pushing.
SPX has to be very clean with this, with his push mechanics here. He can't lose any units. I mean, these Terran units are pretty fragile in the early engagements. Does a good job. He has to siege on siege and get into position. There is one shuttle and a lot of zealots. Doesn't look like SPX has that Stargate was actually a bait. He didn't even make a tribunal. So,
Yeah, but
you know, this is what I like from KwarK, man. He uses his brain, and he really tries to mind game you. Look, he's cutting probes. Like, this isn't really triple Nexus. It's not really triple. Oh my god, he already has Zealot speed coming in and completely smashing this attack from SPX. Dude, the mind games are unreal. 2 vultures though get down here at the 6 o'clock, are picking off a lot of probes. It looks like the Zealots did die, but not before trading really efficiently against the Terran army. And now it looks like SPX will get pushed back. But behind this, we saw that he did get a starport, so maybe his upgrades are going to be fine. But this is hilarious from KwarK on a number of levels. He basically baited SPX into going for a timing and cut everything to kill it.
Well, as a Terran player, now that the attack has been stopped and SPX has killed a bunch of probes here, Terran doesn't really mind their state of the game right now. Terran is upgrading +2. He's getting more probe kills. Being out in the center of the map is a little bit kind of scary, especially with the shuttle sharking around. But when you wipe out the third base like that, and you see that Protoss is still mining gas at their natural, and he probably scanned and saw that there's no Arbiter Tribunal, you should be feeling pretty good even though your attack got denied. Now I think SPX needs to just turn around. Supplies are still even at this point. There is 5 tanks. This may be a little bit ambitious from KwarK, because sure, goons are good. However, there's still a lot of mines and there's still a lot of vultures here. Well, that was a great mine drag getting on top of a couple of the tanks, but look at these tanks clear out almost all of the goons. This is going to be KwarK losing his entire army, and because he lost all of those probes, you can see that he really cannot replenish his unit count that quickly either.
Yeah, well, here, I mean, this type of game is devolving into kind of like just an execution-based game where Terran is constantly rallying in the 5 factories. Protoss is constantly rallying the 6 to 7 gates that he has now. I guess it's probably 6. And it's really just all up to who can execute better once again. And it looks like SPX is doing a really good job here of keeping his units alive and taking better trades. But it can come crumbling down at any time.
Yep, and that is going to be GG coming in from KwarK. Unfortunately, that pylon was a bit misplaced, and the vultures get into the third base again. So as you mentioned, it looked like KwarK was going for a mind game play, kind of like with his mind game 12 Nexus. And I guess it kind of worked because it forced SPX to go into 5 factory, but
it worked, but he lost all the probes on his third, and then like his execution just wasn't there.
Well, I'm not sure if it was really a mind game because he had an observer in his base, and of course when you see a guy going for a timing attack, you're going to build a lot of units, right? So I'm not too sure exactly whether it was a mind game or it was just in reaction to what SPX is doing. Regardless, SPX had a nice victory there. He macroed well.
Yeah. I mean, he did, you know, you're right. It wasn't a strict mind game in that he had to blind counter what his opponent was doing. Like, he had information there, but you know, like, I don't know, it's very peculiar to get the Stargate and get the Nexus at the same time and then immediately not go into Arbiter tech and then just add a bunch of gates. Like, just the reason I say this is just how KwarK thinks, because like I said, he's literally said, well, I make 12 Nexus to bait the Terran into attacking me so I can counter all in him. Like, so I make 3 Nexus with the Stargate because I know that's going to make a lot of Terrans go for a timing, and then I cut everything and add my gates and counter that. Like, that's how he plays. So, and honestly, it worked, but I feel like his execution didn't pull through, and SPX kind of didn't immediately fall over and kept rallying units and overwhelmed him.
Well, I'm not going to get into the Terran mine because we might go into a bit of a rant here. I'll just kind of sum it up. When you scan Arbiter tech, you don't necessarily think about going for a timing. We'll just leave it at that. So we do have SPX going up 1-0. KwarK is going to fall down 0-1. Now it's going to be his map pick. Now losing on, we pointed out in almost every series, losing on a 2-player map. Does this mean that he's going to go for a bigger map? 12 Nexus would give him that or Polypoid would give him that opportunity to go for his 12 Nexus mind game, as you mentioned. Most likely SPX has probably read that thread as someone that plays ladder somewhat consistently, I have noticed that more Koreans have done similar plays where they're cutting a lot to kind of bait you, and if you don't read the probe cut correctly, you kind of all in it, and you might kill the Nexus, but then you get killed. So I'm sure, regardless whether he's read about the build that KwarK has come up with, I'm sure he's had experience versus something like that. So I don't necessarily think that KwarK will just do this and win the game with a counterattack. So Sylphid. So this is kind of an interesting pick, a 3-player map, so he's not going to get scouted. Well, he may get scouted instantly, but it does give him options to go for some pretty sneaky plays, or still go for the 12 Nexus. So let's see if SPX seals the deal, moves into the winners match versus Dewalt, or is KwarK going to tie the series 1-1? So in the bottom left, our red Terran player, it is SPX.
And bottom right is the Protoss, it is KwarK.
Yeah, so I was looking at the mini-map quickly, and KwarK's, I guess, selection box went all the way to the top, so I thought we may have seen a quick probe going out into the top base, and there's some games, you know, like on Outsider, where players have sent out 2 probes, kind of try and poke into the mineral line and see if you're actually there, and then hide a base without you being spotted. Or not hide a base, hide a gateway in your main without being spotted, but that's obviously not the case. Now, that gateway seems to be a little bit far forward, not at the natural, but this may be a Zealot opener. Now, this is interesting because this depot is in a position where it looks like it's going to be a wall.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. I think you just put the racks to the left of it, and then you have a nice Sim City there for the Zealot. You don't need to necessarily fully wall it, but he might fully wall it. It's just a nice placement, honestly. He could even put the racks a bit lower, give himself more space. Yeah, I like that.
Well, this does seem to be the 12 Nexus that we were talking about, because 150 has come and gone. Now, this is where real mind games come into play. I know that you know that I know that you've read what I've talked about in the 12 Nexus guide. So I'm not going to go for the cut of the probes. Or I know that you know that I know that you know. And I'm still going to go for it, right? So we'll have to see what... Huh? Or it's just mindless and he just does whatever he wants.
Or the reality is, SCV pull with a factory is the response to all 12 Nexus builds, and all SPX has to do is execute well to hold the counter on him.
Well, guess what, Mihai? I don't think that's what we're going to see, because that was a 14 or a 15 gas from SPX, and usually you only do this when you plan to go gasless and then get scouted in response to being fast scouted.
There's actually no reason to get this gas at this timing. There's literally absolutely no reason. So he is going to be forced into a command center. I mean, he can still pull... This is one gate. He can still pull Marines right now. Like, if he goes with 1 or 2 Marines, he's going to build a bunker right away. That's really risky, man. I mean, I guess he's going to force the probes prematurely off the mineral line. I don't know if he's going to pull SCVs with this. Yeah, he is pulling SCVs with this, so... this can work too, because it's scouted so early. Again, this is why 12 Nexus is not so good on Sylphid, because it can get scouted so early, so frequently, but the bunker is going to get hit right away. I don't even know if he's going to have time to get in here and repair it before it goes down, and it's going to be really close.
Yeah, it looks like the probes are trying to body block. The SCVs do get there in time to repair, but this is a lot of SCVs to pull and try and take down the Nexus. Now, behind this, it looks like really KwarK didn't cut that much. I could be wrong here, but the second Zealot is coming out now. Clearly, he is cutting, but this Nexus is going to fall. Meanwhile, behind this, SPX does have his factory being built. Now, this is going to be another bunker going up, and at some point, if the bunker gets close enough, units just are not going to be able to get through Wow, these Zealots are dealing a lot of damage, eliminating a lot of SCVs. You cannot be losing SCVs like this.
Yeah, that's really bad actually for SPX, and you know, it's kind of losing those SCVs is gonna hurt. I'm not quite sure if he's gonna be able to finish off this Nexus, especially when you get range this fast. It is indicative of probe cutting. So, you know, there's that, and also Protoss did have to make these 2 Zealots, which is not ideal for their economy either, or for their build. But yeah, like, he's not making probes at all, so he is just going to start massing goons. But SPX behind this is doing the correct thing here, in that he went for the factory. He's not expanding too fast, kind of just resetting the game state, and that's really what happens a lot of the times with 12 Nexus.
I don't know, because yeah, the worker count, that's what I was wondering. It's 11 probes versus 11 SCVs, with 3 SCVs idle out here.
No, I mean, it's gonna be SPX losing those SCVs is pretty bad, and also keeping them around here is doing nothing for him really. So it is going to be annoying, but he is gonna, you know, we're basically reset into a situation where it's a factory opening versus a 2-gate opening, but with Protoss having a bit more.
This is what I was talking about. If the bunker's close enough, it's going to deal a lot of damage to these units coming out. The repair is nice. SCVs are being focused down, but if the Vulture sneaks into the main, it could deal a lot of damage to this probe line. It looks like that's exactly what it's going to do. And now the goons have to make a decision. Do I... Oh, wow, mines are already done. Luckily, a goon pops out for KwarK, but no observers in sight. Looks like the Vulture is not going to deal that much damage, if any damage at all, but really nice idea. And this does at least keep KwarK back in his base. So this counterattack that we were talking about, this is not happening from KwarK, at least not instantly. And he is getting punished pretty darn hard now. Meanwhile, I did see that SPX has been supply blocked for a while, so he hasn't been able to build SCVs for quite a long time.
You know, it's really funny because KwarK actually is pretty much blind countering. Well, it's not really a blind counter, but the idea is to blind counter the follow-up mine contain, because a lot of Terrans will get greedy and just build a bunch of vultures and only get mines and just rely on the mines to keep the Protoss back while they expand. But after SPX scouted this, I mean, he should start his command center, you know, it is getting awfully late, but after scouting that robotics with the observatory, I would like to see him get siege mode. And now at this point, he's for sure going to get siege mode because he knows exactly what he's playing against. But if he finishes siege mode soon and gets a bunker at his natural, he desperately needs a bunker.
He's not upgrading it.
Well, then the game might be over. This is... Yeah, this is not good actually for him. He needs to start getting siege mode.
Well, you have to think about it from Protoss's perspective. Is Protoss doesn't know what Terran's doing. If Terran was just sitting there and waiting with 3 vultures and laying mines in the center of the map, kind of guessing or checking for where your units are, if he just backstabs with 3 vultures into the main, you don't have any units, you're gonna lose. And this is what I was waiting to see: is KwarK gonna go for shuttle? Because, you know, he could elevator into the main and just skip the bunker completely. It looks like that might be an option for him. I didn't see support base, so for now it's just Zealots loaded up.
Yeah, and SPX, it's just unfortunate because in the early game, he probably could have pulled some of these SCVs off the gas. Oh, he's getting a second factory instead. Okay, now he's starting an upgrade at his machine shop. Hopefully that is siege mode. Look at KwarK's supply, though. It is significantly ahead of SPX's, and that's because he's getting so many units so early, especially the shuttle and the gate. Basically, this robotics is like a 3rd production facility for him, having built that shuttle. So this timing is going to be really killer here, and I don't think SPX actually has enough. I mean, he does have a bunker with 4 Marines, which can output a lot of DPS, especially if he's repairing it. He does have 3 tanks, actually, so if he just surrounds his bunker with a bunch of SCVs, he should be fine even without siege mode. But this lack of siege mode is going to hurt him. Let's see, the Dragoons are in range of the bunker. They're focusing down the SCVs right away. Siege mode does finish in time. I like this from SPX, sieging just 1 tank. It's forcing the Dragoons forward, but there are 4 Zealots actually in that shuttle.
That's going to be a lot of Zealots. They can actually kill the tanks on their own. Well, not if they get kited though. So SPX is actually handling this perfectly, pulling SCVs. He cannot lose these tanks. The Zealots do go back into the shuttle, so KwarK also managing this very well, but you know, these tanks are still alive.
Yeah, now these tanks are just trying to get next to that bunker so they can have a little bit of support when they are sieged up. A couple of those tanks are extremely low. Zealot Bomb is not going to come in for a secondary follow-up, but look at the lack of mining and the lack of SCVs from SPX. He's cut so many SCVs just to survive here that even though KwarK doesn't have is not up and running, he is still very much in this game. He's even going to go for a third Nexus follow-up. He knows the control he has, and he sees the SCV count in the main, so he knows that SPX's econ is really in shambles. For now, SPX is going to stabilize. I don't see Armory anywhere. I don't see Academy anywhere, so he doesn't have anything super impactful coming in. I don't see Starport anywhere. Yeah. So this is just going to be 3 Nexuses going up very quickly for KwarK.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nyokin. And honestly, Academy and Armory are going up now, but if anything, looking at this game state, it looks like SPX should probably just go for something like a 4 factory almost, or a 5 factory, because his build is really behind. And despite the fact that Protoss obviously failed in all-in in normal conditions here, the reality is SPX just lost a lot of SCVs on the initial attack, and it looks like he was supply blocked as well, and he was floating a lot of gas this whole time. So to be completely honest with you, Terran's economy isn't quite where it should be. So this double Nexus play from Protoss should catch him up significantly. And because there is no armory, there's no infrastructure here from SPX, you know, usually Terran doesn't need to panic too much in the discrepancy between third base timings, because Terran does have the upgrade X factor to lead them into kind of the mid to late game where their units are just way more cost efficient. But if you do not have upgrades coming, then a strict economic lead like KwarK is about to have is just insurmountable. So, and even if SPX starts his armory now and starts upgrading, you can see, which probably isn't the case because he doesn't have a second gas just yet. Oh, this is disastrous from Terran.
Here comes Terran moving out with 6 tanks and a couple vultures. There are a lot of goons, but they are split up. So for now, SPX has a real opportunity to get some damage done onto this third base. Also, that shuttle is out in no man's land at mid-right. And as we've mentioned before, this is not high ground, so those tanks are going to shell those goons very easily. And this third base is going to be denied. 6 tanks, SPX feels confident to just instantly go and kill this base. And what's nice about this is if the goons move onto the high ground, he can instantly send those vultures into the natural. Now behind this, KwarK was going for carriers on 1 Stargate. Yeah, the build is all over the place. He only has 3 gate support also, so he's not going to be able to clear these tanks. Luckily for him, he saw that SPX doesn't have a scanner. Well, he didn't when the shuttle was in there, so he may be thinking that I can get away with this. Speed is done for those Zealots too, so he preemptively built them before the timing came out. But SPX in response, he's going 6 fact.
That's so weird. Like, why would you put down a Stargate in this situation? I just don't understand. If he had the 3 Nexus here, he can just make a bunch of units and hold anything and then just kill the Terran, but instead he feels pressured, I guess, to get into carrier tech. I mean, maybe he saw, you know, inside the Terran's base, well, Terran's still on 2 factory, doesn't have an armory going, so he's not going to have upgrades, doesn't have a second gas going either, so probably it's much slower of a game and I have time to get carriers. So I kind of, you know, looking at through that lens, I kind of understand this play, but he, you know, the reality is, although SPX's economy hasn't been greatly managed this game, he was making non-stop tanks off of his initial factories, and the, you know, KwarK on his first attack didn't actually kill a lot of those tanks, if any, and he lost units. So he should know that Terran could represent a push at any time. And so he should have compensated a bit with the units, but instead he will lose the Nexus. I mean, it's not over because he is getting carriers, but I mean...
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Just showing carriers, and then...
and he has the Templar Archives now.
Yeah, he built the Templar Archive, and the scan saw that it was a Templar Archive and not a second Stargate. So this is going to be SPX kind of just trying to brute force this. I don't know if he'll be able to because there are Zealot. Okay, he is going to be able to. And this build is not going to work out for KwarK. I don't even know if a single tank has died yet. All of the tanks are just dealing so much damage. The Vultures mowed down those Zealots very easily. And this is going to be SPX pushing to a victory and taking out KwarK 2-0 unless there can be some type of sick mine drag, but there are no mines.
Well, yeah, here come the Vultures. And with the Vulture support, this group is going to output a lot of DPS. The goons are trying to snipe some of the tanks, but they die. KwarK calls GG. SPX wins 2-0. He will move on to the winner's match against Dewalt, and KwarK is going to go down to the loser's match against BoA. So the next series will be Dewalt versus SPX right after this break. It took Zero by surprise. Here, OG's such an aggressive player. Storms have to be on point. That's a lot of Hydralisks, but actually Zealots here kind of overwhelming the Hydralisk count, and he is going to just straight up kill them. Meanwhile, more Zealots inside of this third base from the Zerg player. Oh my god, this is catastrophic damage already.
Meanwhile, that DT looks like it didn't have much success other than denying mining at the mineral line, but as I say that, there actually is 4 kills, 5. He's going to get 6, maybe 7. Now that's ridiculous amounts of damage. Finally, Michael has found at least a little bit of damage, and now he's found that the extractor is a bit exposed. So that's going to be eliminated, but not a big loss. Oh, is there? At the natural, there's a ton of units there. This might be a denial onto that hatch again.
Oh, but Michael does have units here, but it's not enough. Things are just going to flood in here, and that's going to be it, really. My god, dude. This hatch, this 10 hatch opening against 9 pool is so, it's just so winning. It's insane. Yeah,
God,
I mean there's really just nothing Michael can do. I don't think there's at any point anything Michael could have done this game. Okay, some Scourge connect.
Scourge connect. So this is about as good as it can possibly go. For Michael, he's got 17 Mutalisks. That's a sizable amount, but it's still nothing in comparison to what Avilev has. Look at how many Scourge and Mutalisks there are, and it seems like all of the Scourge connect also. This is going to be GG. Michael, no way he can stop this.
Yep. GG! Yeah, like, if these Zealots die here, if the Protoss units die, he's not going to have anything to defend his front with. And the thing is, they're not going to get good trades off onto these links, so Avilev is just going to walk up to this front. He has a bunch of lurkers here.
I think this is game over. 4 lurkers will pop cannons very quickly. They're also going to murder these Zealots. You can see that the lurkers are taking initial shots from the cannons. He literally just has to focus his cannons, and this game is over.
Yeah, you can see OG is targeting the lurkers with the cannons, but they are going to go down, and there's no robotics. We saw Citadel Templar Archives. There's definitely no more detection, and that's going to be it, really. I mean, what can Oyoji do in this situation? He literally just... Maybe if this cannon gets up, but Avilev notices it, focuses it down with the lings, and now the lurkers are going inside of the main. They're going to kill all these probes. The follow-up Zealots can go to something like the third base and start hitting the hatchery there, so that's usually what you see. This one Zealot, though, if it gets a drone kill, that's massive, that's huge. The second drone kill is even bigger, so this is already... if he gets the third! This is so... 4 drones! Holy... This is... 5th drone, dude. That's it, this game's over. It's done. There's literally nothing Avilev can do.
Okay, we're just about to watch a drone line get absolutely murdered, and there goes about 15 drones in an instant. And that's gonna now make the supply just 60 for Avilev and 112 for Oyoji.
He's so massively far ahead. It would take such a massive throw. You could, like, the amount of throw is like if you would throw a ball from Earth to Mars or something. Like, that's how hard
Oya would have to throw to lose this game.
Well, this is a good move. Holy moly, that's a lot of probes going down. And if he was able to pop the cannons, maybe the observers were too late. But you can see the observers even have speed upgraded. So they got there very quickly.
Take a gander, if you will, at the supplies real quick here. Triple the supply, a bunch of Archons. This was basically the Archon toilet. Get the Nexus. Get it. Avilev knows. GG. He doesn't notice in the main that everything's dying. He's still not looking, and the drone line's probably eradicated. Oh my god, this is a disaster. Now he notices, oh my god, there's 4 DTs in my main. They're going to kill the spawning pool too. No more Lings. Hive on the way, though. It looks like Avilev is going to be able to defend that. And only 2 Reavers and no Sim City. There's no gates blocking the ramp or the natural. So it looks like Avilev is going to push through here. Darkstorm goes down. No speed just yet on the Ultras, but it looks like Avilev is going to kill top left. And with top left down, and Avilev still has bottom left going, and a bunch of hatcheries and full econ with you know, a lot of supply. It looks like maybe no, there's no DTs on the round. This is looking like a win for Avilev, and GG.
And I think Borinich is in a bit of trouble because the Zealots are going to add a lot of DPS, and that is a lot of Zealots too. Meanwhile, the Lings aren't helping at all. They're going for a counterattack, but he needs to make sure he doesn't die. The Storm is great, illuminates a lot of the drones, illuminates a lot of the Hydras too. And this could be Oyaji just ending the game. There's no more Sunkens left.
Those Storms were incredible from Oyaji. He killed everything. The drones, the Hydras, more units coming from the bottom left to reinforce, but Oyaji is already in this main base. And GG. Borinich calls it. There's your answer, Nyokin. Oyaji. He's done it.
Okay, we are back, and we just saw SPX take down KwarK, and he is going to be moving down into the losers bracket to face off versus BoA. And both of these matchups are going to be very hard for KwarK and SPX, because now SPX, with that victory, is rewarded with facing off versus Dewalt, who has one of the highest PvT win rates. Remember, Bonnet, I think, is the only one higher with 100%. I don't think he's lost a single Terran game in all of BSL, and that's not series, that's just flat out games. So SPX is a bit in trouble here, and I'm trying to remember what's the map going to be for our winners match, the opener map.
Demonio Azul.
Oh yes, Demonio Azul. So at least Dewalt's not going to have as much practice here as other standard maps. But this is a standard map, so it's still going to be very troubling for SPX.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Thinking about the map, I'm guessing like it reminds me a bit of Reap the Storm.
Reap the Storm? Okay. Yeah, it is kind of similar in the sense that the main is kind of
main is
wide
open,
and has a lot of
bases,
drop potential.
Yeah, there's just a lot of space on the map, a lot of space. So it's stuff like, you know, if you're a Protoss player, you're thinking, okay, well, taking a third base might be problematic, or dealing with drops might be problematic. And if you're a Terran player, you're thinking, okay, maybe I should look at kind of 4 factory builds and kind of more up-tempo builds rather than trying to play the usual defensive builds, or even something like Starport into 2-base push. I feel like all of those things should be running through the Terran's head, and all of the other things through the Protoss's head, but we'll have to see here what both players have prepared here. Of course, the Demonio Azul is one of these newer maps that, you know, it's not on the ladder. It is in a couple of other tournaments, but most likely the players do not have that much experience on it, so we'll have to see how both choose to approach it.
Yeah, and this is going to be the first time we've seen Dewalt in a matchup other than PvP. I'm going to see how his versus Terran is. And remember, today in ASL, we got to see him play a couple of PvPs, and you see the win rates here. What does that say? 88% versus Terran, just absolute monster in the Terran matchup. And when we had the foreign all-stars go up against that Korean team, the Postis team, the team that you ended up playing against, when Cruiser was setting it up, players like Bishop were giving feedback or thoughts on the foreign players like Dewalt and Bonnet, and they all agreed that Dewalt has the better PvP. So SPX is going to have to really put on a show here if he's going to want to take down Dewalt. But as we mentioned before, this is his highest win rate matchup. It is PvP, and like we were saying, that most of the strong players in BSL are Protoss. So if you have a 75% win rate, that means that he has taken games off of players like Dewalt and Bomber.
Yeah, well, we'll see here. It is going to be difficult for SPX for sure. Demonio Azul is going to be the map. And the players are already ready, so let's get right into the game. SPX versus Dewalt, game 1 of the winners.
All right, in the bottom right, we have our red Russian Terran. It is SPX.
And in the 12 o'clock position, we have the other Russian player, the Protoss, is Dewalt.
Yeah, so now we've got two clanmates facing off, IRK members, both of them. So you know they've played a lot. Also being in Russia, you know that they get matched a lot on ladder, so there could be a lot of history here. As you pointed out, this map does seem very similar to Reap the Storm. I initially thought Tau Cross when I saw this map. Very wide open main, lots of drop potential. If this was Koget versus Dewalt, I would still like Dewalt a bit over Koget, but I think there would be a really high potential that drop play could pick him apart. So we'll see if that is going to be something that SPX wants to exploit. If we just get a quick look at the map, it looks like the 3rd and 4th base are somewhat... No, actually, the 3rd base is quite far away from the natural. I thought it looked kind of easy for Terran to get, but not the case. Also, that 3rd base only is a mineral only.
Yeah, this map is interesting to say the least. So in these positions, Terran, you know, you're looking at this, especially if you're on the clockwise spawn from the Protoss, so facing their main, dropships are going to be really good in this situation for the Terran player. Though I'm not quite sure SPX is necessarily a drop type player. Looks like he is going to go for a gasless expand. It can be a bit risky on a 3-player map. Again, you know, builds like 12 Nexus and gasless are actually quite prone to, you know, they're very dependent on how early they get scouted. If they get insta scouted, it drastically lowers their effectiveness. If they get late scouted, it's really good for them. And on 3-player maps, for the most part, they always get scouted. Now, when you're, you know, the difference between a gasless expand and like a 12 Nexus is that gasless is quite flexible. You know, once the probe comes in here, you can just take your gas, you can just put down your depot and start making Marines, and this is exactly what SPX is doing. So I do like this from SPX. You know, using this build here with the anticipation that he will just modify it as the probe comes in, and if Dewalt were to just skip this scout, oh my god, the probe instantly dies.
Yeah, and that's crucial because Zealots are coming across the map. Oh, I don't know about this because he doesn't have the money for the SimCity.
No, but the thing is, it was blocking the command center, and I was looking at that. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't seem ideal. That is really unfortunate for SPX, but this SimCity is going to be really nice. He does have 2 Marines. You kind of would like to have the bunker. He has to pull a couple of SCVs to deal with the Zealot, but he is microing well here. The supply block is going to hurt him, though, because really this supply block basically represents 1.5 SCVs almost. And Dewalt, and not just that, but he probably 2 SCVs at this point, because SPX opted to go for the 2 Marines. So despite the fact that Dewalt hasn't killed a single SCV just yet, SPX basically already took damage in a sense.
Yeah, this SCV may end up dying. One of those SCVs is really low. Looks like the Zealot may have overstepped his bounds. Well, as his buddies coming in through the back, it's going to be 3 Marines versus 2 Zealots. Dewalt did an interesting build, getting a very delayed gas. That's a nice SimCity there, but just not enough DPS to keep the Zealots from not killing these SCVs. That's going to be 2 more SCVs going down. May be able to catch a Marine? Well, maybe not. I think he could just back off now. But it looks like he's got his eyes set on another SCV. He's trying to get 2 more shots off, but it's not going to come through. That's another Zealot coming in. It has full health. Fourth Zealot. Why is this just pure Zealot, man?
Well, Dewalt is going gateway expand behind this, but honestly, he's doing so much damage. This game's really, really bad for the Terran. Terran's economy is totally in shambles right now.
Yeah, it looked so good when he was catching the probe. I thought, okay, well now the Zealot is not going to deal that much damage at the entrance. And then, as you mentioned, the depot was blocking the command center. I also thought, like, wow, that depot looks very close to the mineral line, or to the gas. I mean, it may block it, and it looks like that is the case. Now, SPX, his factory, I didn't get a catch on when it actually went down, but if this Zealot gets another SCV kill, that is so punishing. Now, I am trying to think of how can SPX come back. Another SCV coming down. There is an SCV what looks like the top side of the map. So if you can go for proxy starport, that can be, oh, that's not an SCV, but maybe that SCV will build at proxy starport. But I don't know, that seems like not the position you want to build a starport at.
Yeah, well, this is really bad for the Terran player. I mean, really bad. Even without those subsequent SCV kills, he's going for an armory. I would have liked for, look at Dewalt, even scouting the proxy locations. He's aware that Dewalt's playing so well. I love this. He's aware that really a proxy starport is the only way for Terran to come back here. He's so infinitely far ahead. All Dewalt has to think about is
He knew that was the Marine that was low health from the beginning, so he didn't even stutter on just attacking it.
I know. Honestly, Dewalt, you know, if you're in Dewalt's shoes, all you're thinking about is, as long as I don't take as long as I don't take massive damage to my economy, it doesn't matter what the Terran's doing. So looking for those proxy starports is the play. And SPX instead is going for the armory. SPX is playing a standard game here, but I suspect that he is down 10 workers at least. He's got what, three vultures on the map, 3 goons, 2 goons, and then a couple of Marines in the bunker. And if you look at the supply differential, it's 20. So I would say this is like almost 10 to 12 workers down, which is it's not good.
Yeah. Don't want to call it just yet because we tried to call it yesterday. Terra versus Dandy, but SPX versus somebody of the caliber of Dewalt, it's almost an impossible task to bring this back. We did see that he did get a fast armory, so he's going to be trying to go into those powerful upgrades and try and just stall the game out. However, we know that the meta these days from Protoss is to go non-stop harassment and go for a bust. So I don't think that's going to be really something that SPX is going to be able to do. I think that once Dewalt hits like 150 supply, probably just going to go for it. Now, these vultures are trying to deny these probes from getting the third base up. It looks like one snuck to the left side. That is going to be third nexus going down for Dewalt. Surprisingly, the supply is not as high as I thought for Dewalt. It's still only 75, but still 75 versus 55. Not exactly where you want to be as SPX vultures. I mean, at least they've killed a couple probes, but really not dealing that much damage so far.
Yeah. Dewalt going for that third nexus here. It is really far away. You can see why this map is an interesting map. It is hard for Protoss to defend all of this. I'm actually surprised we're not seeing some kind of 2-base build from Dewalt, but ooh, Boobro with the Boobro with the 5977. Thanks a lot for the tips. Yeah, I mean, interesting build here from Dewalt. He is going to defend 3 bases with just 2 gate, though. I guess if you wall the ramp at the third base, you only have to move to defend the backside there, so it's not too bad.
Well, we do see that this is going to be the 2-1 style. This is just going to be SPX trying to draw the game out as far. Wow, there's a Reaver, and it looks like those.
Oh, that dud.
How did that not connect? Okay, well, now the Reaver is getting a couple of connections, and he's dealing with, I think, SPX handled this about as well as he's going to. But look at that Reaver micro. As you mentioned,
still
the Reaver
alive, dude.
Still alive. It takes out the Goliath. It might, okay, it finally gets taken down. But these goons did a lot of damage too. And look at how many SCVs are actually left over at the natural. What is that, 7 or so? Maybe 8?
Yeah. that Reaver killed like another 10 SCVs. When SPX was 10 SCVs behind, it pulled them off the minerals line. Okay, well, SPX is getting some counter damage. That's 4 probes going down, and delaying the transfer of the other probes, but really not anywhere near the amount of damage that he would need to get back into this game. He has double armory, but just 2 factories here. Yeah, it's really unfortunate because honestly, you know, if you're in SPX shoes, you want to play this game out 100%. You know, it's a tournament game. You're still in the game. Might as well play it out. But this is just it's just so hard.
Yeah, we do see that the econ is starting to kick in for Dewalt because he's starting to put down more gates. I haven't seen Citadel anywhere yet, or maybe that's it right there. Okay, Citadel. Wow, it is just so late that it's kind of shocking how late it is. But in this particular game, it doesn't seem to matter. As we mentioned earlier, more and more players are going for bust with Protoss, and that is going to be a dropship moving to the top side of the map. And I think this is the first time I've seen goons actually positioned to the top side of the map. So Dewalt, he just knows that this is going to be incoming pretty soon. 3 vultures are setting up to get into the main, but 4 goons. Look at that. Why are the goons there? Did he see a dropship made? I don't think he did. But this is gonna be perfect. Hey, look at how does he even move without vision to the bottom side? Did he have an observer? I don't see one.
He's got like a map hack chip installed in his brain, dude. Like it just X-ray vision from his eyes.
Look at the cannon timing. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, that being said, he has a bunch of units. He knows there's a starport out. There's no cost to him to keep 3 Dragoons in his main for exactly that purpose. And this is something that we mentioned in yesterday's cast. You should just get cannons in your mineral lines once you get your forge, you know? There's no reason not to get 1 cannon in each mineral line because the drops are always going to happen. You can see Dewalt does have that set up. Finally increasing his gateway count. Yeah, I memean, SPX is going to try and go for this 2-1. If we're looking at the game timer, it's about to hit in the next 30 seconds-ish. But if you look at SPX's supply, we're in the gutters. So even if he gets this upgrade going, I don't think he's going to pack enough of a punch to really hurt Dewalt.
Yeah, Dewalt is approaching max. He's at 140. He's got about 9 gates now, so that's going to ramp up his supply very quickly. Shuttles coming across the... Oh no, he found isolated tanks. Goodbye, 2 of them. In the blink of an eye, they just get evaporated. And now there's only 4 tanks left versus 2 Reavers. I don't even know if these 4 tanks can fight them straight up.
Yeah, well, they can't. And yeah, Dewalt's gonna make short work of this army here with the Reavers and the goons. And you know, we kind of saw this last week when Avilov was playing Oyaji, right? In that game, or yeah, was it Oyaji? Yeah. In that game where he lost the 5 drones early on, and regardless of what he did, he was just, I mean, he put on an incredible comeback. But when you play from so far behind in the early game, it might just seem like you're getting totally outclassed. And, you know, as much as I do appreciate that SPX is hanging in this game and he's trying to play it out, this can also just hurt your confidence, right? Like, if Dewalt is just doing whatever he wants and it's all working because of a massive advantage that he got from the early game, you're gonna feel like, okay, wow, I'm just nowhere near this guy's level, and that's gonna pour over into the next game. I mean, it might be the case that SPX doesn't, you know, he doesn't care about any of that. You know, obviously some players are they have a lot of mental fortitude, but just something to think about as the game draws on here, and as Dewalt is basically crushing every attempt SPX has made to make progress in this game.
Well, SPX has gotten into the high ground. He does have 2-1. He does have a decent army. Unfortunately, it's half the size. Okay, that is quadruple. 5 shuttles for Dewalt. I was wondering why his army looked so tiny, and that's because he has like 20 zealots loaded up in those shuttles. And SPX is probably thinking like, wow, I might actually kill this base. Well, no, you ain't, dude, because here come those shuttles, and here comes Gateway Man through the bottom. Look at those zealots just get, oh my god, double Reaver too, and Storm.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. Would be surprised if SPX does not call GG at this point. Well, yeah, I mean, Dewalt's looking strong, man, but again, I cannot understate just how far behind Terran was from the early game. Finally, 2-1 does finish, but I mean, he's down 100 supply. Doesn't matter if you have 2-1 on your army when your army consists of 2 tanks. And yeah, the shuttles are loaded back up. The hit squad running around, the smiley faces. Shuttles really are troll units, man. Like they're basically this big yellow smiley face that just runs at you, wreaks havoc. Gonna drop into the main here and kill this turret. Nyokin is trying to talk.
I said it's miniature recall, man. Reaver, Goon Zealot drop with Templars too.
Yeah, well, you don't need Arbiters when you got mass shuttle.
That's true. It looks like this counterattack from SPX is getting some damage done, but the supplies are just too lopsided. It's still 170 to 85. Surprisingly, SPX, I think, will clean up the attack in his main, but yeah, it's just too much production from Dewalt. One cycle of Zealots ends up wiping it. He's on 4 bases, not mining in the main for SPX. There's no command center either.
Yeah. Well, what can you say more about this game? I guess SPX probably thinking about the next game. So, what do you think, you know, what maps are you looking at against Dewalt? Like, do you want to go for some kind of like 2-player map?
Oh, I don't necessarily want any map versus Dewalt, but I would probably pick Polypoid because it's going to keep him back. Initially, the map that came to mind was Eclipse. But I think we may see a repeat of what we just saw, where the Zealot harassment is going to be intense and deal a lot of damage. And then at least Eclipse is a map that you can split, but it's not the easiest map to get a 3rd base. And dealing early game damage and then following up with the busts, I think, is the way to go if you're going to play Eclipse as Protoss and you get damage done like that. So yeah, I think I don't want Eclipse. I would probably just go for Polypoid. And if Dewalt attempts a bust, at least I'm going to have high ground on my 3rd base. But then you're playing Dewalt on a map where he's going to have like 8 bases. And I don't know if I want to face his 20 to 25 gate macro. So we're in a dilemma as SPX.
Well, as SPX, I feel like you just flush that game down the drain. You know, don't think about it. It does happen. Like sometimes, you know, he misplaced his command center, and just like I said, canceling that depot already represented like 2 SCVs lost. And he had to get the gas because the probe came in, whatever. And Protoss was doing a gate expand behind that. So really, Protoss is in such a good spot, even from just the depot cancel. Like, if Protoss goes gate expand or some really fast Nexus, and you're down SCVs already, because Nexus, the gate expand Nexus is pretty much the same as like a gasless expand. So you're looking at kind of like a similar situation to when you go factory expand against like a 23 Nexus or something like that. So if you're already down SCVs going into an expand situation, that hurts. But obviously after that, he lost like what, 5 or 6 more SCVs, and Dewalt was just making Zealots. I mean, that is literally unplayable. So, you know, going into the next game, you shouldn't be like, oh well, I'm gonna change my build up, I'm gonna do something drastically different because this guy is much better than me or something, or this really didn't work. No, you should just go into the next game and be like,
I'm gonna, even if SPX wants to gas this expand again, that's fine. Just think about not blocking your command center, obviously, and executing better to hold the zealots, because what Dewalt did was not particularly, it was just standard. You know, he scouted and made a couple zealots from his main. You should be able to hold that through execution. So,
you know, I was watching Dewalt supply the whole game, and it didn't seem to ramp up as fast as I was expecting it. So as you said, even though SPX, you know, was at a massive deficit, I don't think he needs to necessarily make many changes. Obviously, the depot hurt. If it was me and this is ladder, as soon as I'm canceling the SC or canceling the depot and see zealots coming across the map, I'm already out of the game. Like it's already a non-game to me. If Protoss loses at that point, okay, then I'm just flat out way better than them. So our next pick is going to be Sylphid. We'll see if SPX ties it up, or is Dewalt getting out of Group D in first place. All right, in the bottom right, our Terran hero. It is SPX.
And actually in the bottom right, it is Dewalt.
Oh, did I say bottom right?
Yeah.
I thought I said bottom left. Well,
dude, even I was thinking like
I got excuses, man. It's 4:30 here. It's very late.
No, there's.
And then after this, I got Korean class. It was gonna be a long day. And then you messaged me earlier.
Yeah, you were up early.
Yeah, you were like, "Did you go to sleep?" Like, yeah, I slept for 4 hours and woke up to try and keep my schedule intact for BSL. And then actually, I generally go to sleep during BSL days, like around like 10 or something. So you sleep like 3 or 4 hours. I forgot to go to sleep, so I'm running off of just those 4 hours.
How do you forget to go to sleep? Oh, oops, I didn't sleep.
Well, I was busy talking to some people, so I ended up. Oh, and also I got I went out and got a double bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, no.
I love the Korean hamburgers, and my
From
mind
McDonald's?
slipped. No.
Where do you go? Loteria? Loteria, I mean?
Okay. I don't even want to talk to this guy.
I love Loteria, man.
No.
Okay.
I live in Hongdae, which is one of the foreign areas.
That's like the university place too, right?
Yes, there's tons of university students here. You see them hanging out all the time. I'm gonna say they have like a famous strip area, where there's just a lot of shops. But I of course don't know if it's famous. But there's a ton of foreign food there. Like I get kebab there often. Obviously hamburgers. They have steak there too. I'm sure people here listening thinking like, okay, they have steak, big deal. Well, let me tell you, Korean steak is a little different at the grocery stores. It's very thin, so steak to me and simple
they make
things
it
are actually
for like the
nice.
barbecue, right? Like easy to, it's already prepared.
Yes, they
and
make
stuff.
it for you to like at Korean barbecue. Just
That's dope. I know you don't like it, but anyway, yeah.
I
Hongdae
love
is sick,
Korean barbecue. Just other things, not not my thing.
Hongdae is sick, man. No, I mean, I know you want to talk about the game, but it's just the probe coming in here.
Well, we see the 15 gas again, or 16 gas again from SPX, so they got scouted. Now, I got a question for you, Mihai. Is that depot block the command center?
No. That's a good one, man. This is actually perfectly
you
placed.
like that one?
Yeah,
Did I actually get a laugh out of Mihai the other day?
I laugh all the time.
When I used my Doozer comment. I'm pretty sure you and the rest of the chat is like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
I don't know. It was okay, dude. Yesterday I had to mute myself to laugh a couple of times during the broadcast. I will admit to that. I don't know if it's because of Nyokin, but anyway, this is the I do like how SPX is playing this, but on 3-player maps you're just never gonna be able to get the Rax expand off, and you will have to go into this gas, and that's fine. It's actually fine. Thinking about it, this is a totally viable way to play. So, it can be weak. Excuse me. It can be weak to proxy gate, regardless of that fact. So SPX through this build is opening himself up to that, but we haven't seen, again, Even if we were to play, actually, I would be really interested to see Dewalt play PvT on a 2-player map because, okay, the Goon will take some shots to get the Zealot in.
Nice.
Nice SCV block.
Oh,
Is this
that's
Dota 2?
amazing. Oh, that was sick. That looked like some gypsy micro right there. Taking down that Zealot. It didn't even damage the SCV, really. What was it? It got like half an attack off?
That was sick, yeah. SPX, you know, Russians do love Dota, so I wouldn't be surprised if SPX has just been sitting there playing with dreads or something. Okay, anyway, that was a reference not many people are gonna get. But yeah. What was I saying? Something about, well, I lost my train of thought. So
Well, 2 fact with eBay follow-up coming in. That's pretty standard, of course, because SPX doesn't really know exactly what's Dewalt's going on other than seeing, you know, a couple goons. We know that Nexus has gone down for Dewalt. Back in his main, I don't think he's put down Robo or anything just yet, unless that's it right there. No, that's a pylon. He's got a lot of gas banked, so I'm curious where that's all going to go. 3 goons are going to start attacking this bunker. Double add-on, pretty standard. Now, SPX has 2 options here. He can go into heavy tank production, or he can just go into the standard 1 tank, tons of vultures with double upgrades. I would like to see the tank production actually and just kind of punish Dewalt for not having any tech. The SCV did get taken out. I noticed that on the mini-map. So really, SPX is completely in the dark and has no idea of what is actually going on.
Yeah, and to be honest, when you're going, the one drawback with going siegeless here and into triple tank is that any kind of 2-gate follow-up is just going to kill that. But, you know, we know Dewalt is actually going for the robotics here, so the tanks could be good. At some point, Protoss has to pull these Dragoons back. Okay, we'll have to see if the SPX can keep this tank alive. It does take a lot of hits, so now he has to repair it as well. Has to repair the bunker. So far, this is looking really good for Dewalt, and this is just 4 Dragoons, now 5. Yeah, this is kind of a scary spot to be in because if SPX loses a tank here, his push is not going to be that good. The bunker almost went down, and SPX is losing so much mining time. He's also losing so many minerals. Okay, finally cannot lose any tanks.
Yeah, I thought that Dewalt was going to go for that 1 tank at the bottom, and as you mentioned, he's losing so much mining time. There's only 3 SCVs mining that natural for SPX, and now another one gets pulled off. So even though he had his nat up and running, Dewalt is catching up very fast in the resources, and you can see that SPX realizes that he's transferring even more SCVs, but now he may be oversaturated. Oh, he's attacking his own SCVs!
Well, this is going to be 4 tanks and no upgrades on the add-on, so he will not have vulture support. You really need mines along with these units to like keep the goons at bay. Vulture tank mine is just so good against your goons. You know, it's kind of like a micro battle. You can see the machine shop is spinning. I don't know if that's just one. You know, generally you go double vulture upgrades at this point, so that might actually be siege mode. This build from SPX, not sure exactly what the plan is going to be. It looks like he's just gonna go for a push here with a bunch of SCVs, tanks, and Marines. Yeah, even 2 more tanks coming here, so that is most likely siege mode, I would imagine.
It has to be siege mode, but now he needs to start rallying vultures. Like, tanks are great, but he needs some type of supporting cast. And this is Sylphid, where you can't really build that many turrets unless you get very close to their natural. So this seems very all in, especially when we're pulling 6 SCVs with this Marine push. And the Observer's seen it the whole time. So Dewalt is kind of just shadowing these tanks. Now that's a goon kill for free. Dewalt is being a bit greedy, putting up a Nexus and multiple pylons at mid-right. Looks like he's going to try and just cut off these vultures, make sure that he can easily overwhelm these tanks. Or maybe he's just going for a base trade?
I mean, this is great movement from Dewalt anyway. He's forcing the hand of the Terran player and doesn't need to commit on killing this base anyway. I think for the most part, this is here to just kill the reinforcements,
as you
pointed out. Now, SPX is pulling back. I mean, he has nothing at his main to defend. He doesn't have mines, doesn't have tanks.
That's it. I mean, you know, SPX has to attack this natural. Now, luckily for him, he has as many tanks as there are Dragoons, but the Marines and the SCVs are out of position. They're not covering for the tanks, and so these tanks are going to get sniped by the Dragoons, and the probes are on top as well. Tanks do go down, probes are going down, Dragoons are going down, so here it's a pretty even trade, but in SPX's base, Dewalt is just getting on top of the factories with 6 Dragoons. They're going to kill the 2 tanks coming out. SCV is getting pulled, but not engaging the Dragoons. Multitask battle on 2 fronts here for both players. We'll have to see who comes out on top. It looks like Dewalt, for the most part, is getting the better trade here, but with these siege tanks, they might be able to get a couple of probes back, but looking at the supply, it's looking really bad for SPX.
Yeah, this is going to be game over. There's just nothing to deal with the goons and non-stop and the constant probes. And that's going to be SPX tapping out, and Dewalt is easily going to move on into the round of 8. And unfortunately, SPX got, you know, kind of handicapped in the first game, and then we saw him attack his own SCVs at the natural. Obviously, that was to open up 2 supply so he could get out 2 more units. But with the denial of his nat running for so long, it was a Hail Mary for him. It's either going to win him the game or that's it. And I was kind of skeptical of the counterattack from Dewalt because I thought SPX had mines, and I thought, okay, if you lay mines and siege behind them, you may be able to actually kill the nat, because you saw that tanks and Marines were pushing very deep. He even killed that, I don't know if he killed the Nexus, but he wiped out all the probes at the nat.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about that 3 tank push, or like just going for siege lists with a bunch of tanks, is that actually does really poorly against the Protoss that just parks their Dragoons outside of your main. Or outside of your natural. Whether it's 1 gate, whether it's 2 gate, if they're just sitting there with 5 to 6 Dragoons, it's so hard to deal with that without siege mode. Now, most of the time, Protosses do pull away, because around that timing, dropships become a possibility, and even Vulture run by becomes a possibility. But in the case of, like, you know, as a Terran player, if you see the Protoss kind of playing aggressively, thing is, it was only 1 gate, so he doesn't necessarily need to get siege mode, but many times, even if you want to go for the 3 tank push, you should get siege mode, because there's no response to like 5 Dragoons trying to snipe your tanks.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a lot of time Protoss players will back off, but the problem for SPX is he got 2 tanks fast, so you're thinking, well, this is great. However, the second tank was not 30 seconds later than the first one. So as soon as Dewalt sees this, he knows that it's double factory, double tank. And that means drops cannot come. It's impossible. So nice read from Dewalt there to punish SPX big time at the natural. Really basically wasn't even mining that thing for the entirety of the game. He easily moves on. But that at least is going to put SPX into the last chance match. So it's still going to have potential to get out of this group. But before we find out who SPX is going to face off against, we have to, of course, go into our losers match. And that is going to be BoA versus KwarK. But before we get into that, going to go into a quick commercial break.
It's only Zealot Templar here, and he's actually going to storm and run right up here. Oiji's such an aggressive player. Storms
All right, we are back. Dewalt just blasted through Group D, very easily taking down SPX in our final match, or in our winners match. Now we're gonna have some more PvP action. It's gonna be KwarK versus BoA. BoA, despite falling to Dewalt, looked pretty good. There was opportunities for him to win. So KwarK is gonna have his work cut out for him, I believe.
Yeah. Now here's what I want to know.
Hit me with it.
When you're talking to me, are you looking at yourself or at me?
I'm looking at myself. Well, I'm kind of looking in the middle of the screen.
Okay. Because, like, I noticed that I look kind of in your direction and you look kind of in my direction. But it looks like we're both looking at each other. Because when I'm looking... Well, dude, yeah, BoA played, honestly, against Dewalt, BoA played phenomenally well, and that was probably one of the best series that we've seen, at least in my mind, skill-wise. I really enjoyed watching that game earlier between the two. And so, really, KwarK, I feel like, is going to have his work cut out for him, because BoA looks in shape.
Yeah, we talked about last season, BSL10, that BoA kind of looked off in certain points of the season. Like, we've mentioned multiple times that he kind of falls apart when he gets harassed quite a bit, but that was not the case so far in the PvP series that we've seen. He looked, as you said, on point. So it's going to be really tough for KwarK. We don't have enough sample games from KwarK to really determine where his Protoss versus Protoss stands versus someone like BoA, because BoA's top tier Protoss in BSL. Like, it goes, if we're gonna do like rankings, it's like Dewalt, Bonnet, BoA are like top 3 Protosses in all of BSL. So it's gonna be very hard for him. Meanwhile, you look at BoA's results, 25% versus Protoss, but like I was saying, last season it seemed like he was just off. So even though he has only a 25% win rate, I don't think you should really think too much about it. Now, I forgot about this. Our Deciders series, or Losers Bracket series, is going to be on Blade Runner. So let's see who's going to start off with a 1-0 lead in the series. All right, in the top left, not the top right, we have BoA.
On top right, not top left, we have KwarK.
Alright, well, last time we saw BoA pull out a 2-gate. And I talked about that was a potential play from him. But I was a bit surprised that he ended up going for that. Now, we haven't seen anybody go for any proxy stuff. I don't see probe move out anywhere. It is going to be horizontal spawns, but because of the base layouts, it's still quite a long distance. If we simply look at... Oh, is that going to be forward gate from KwarK?
Looks like he's just putting a pylon by his ramp.
Okay, so this is going to be a forward, well, not a low ground gate, but a pylon near the entrance. So that may kind of already be a tell that we may see some zealot pressure. As I was mentioning, Blade Runner, not exactly the smallest map. If we look from BoA's position, he's got to go to the right side, then down, then back to the right side, then up, just to get to KwarK space. So it is quite a far distance. How many gateways is this going to be? Looks like just one. But what's this? A simulator before gate. Now, this must be for him, like, trying to go for, like, very, very heavy. Okay.
We'll have to see, man. I have no idea.
Does this gateway wall off the probe?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I mean, it might. I feel like there's room. No, it might. It actually might. So it looks like KwarK has something very specific prepared for this map. Now, what can you do with banked gas? DT drop? Really fast DT drop? You see, yeah, that does wall the probe off.
Now, okay, we were talking about how KwarK likes the mind games. I do have to say that he got a bit unlucky that BoA is scouting him first, because even though BoA doesn't get in, what he does see is that the gateway
Is delayed.
finished later, much later than his own gateway. So
Yeah.
that means that KwarK is doing something fishy in his main, and he doesn't have enough money to put down a Nexus anywhere. So the only thing that it could possibly be is that this guy is banking gas. So already, I don't think BoA is going to be fooled by this. My most curious thoughts on this game is, where's this gas going? Because really the only gas-intensive unit, like absolutely gas-intensive units that Protoss has is the Templar. But I don't think that's what KwarK's going for.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because what are you going to do? Like, go fast storm drop? Well, it looks like...
So.
You know what it might be? Like, some kind of Forge expand with Templars. Now, you know, the real question isn't what is KwarK doing, but rather, if you're in BoA's shoes, how do you approach this? Is it, okay, I need to get my robotics to get an observer out early, or is it, I need to just get an expansion out early? Because those are, like, he might play overly defensive, in which case a build like this, like, you know, it's not like KwarK cut probes, right? I mean, the one thing is KwarK did cut some of his econ, because the fast assimilator means that you're getting less minerals early on. But besides that, yeah, it's just a really, really fast tech here. He already has his Templar archives coming. Robotics is only halfway done. But given the travel time, I feel like observers might be out in time. You know, BoA is going to push here with 2 Zealots and a couple of goons. He'll see that KwarK doesn't really have too much, so most likely he will get an observatory.
KwarK's already in trouble, because if the probe can't get in, that means any unit that comes out of this gateway can't get back into the main unless
he killed the
yeah,
egg.
he killed the egg. But what I mean is that like moves like this puts pressure back onto KwarK. He's gotta kill those eggs, or he's just gonna flat out lose those units, or he's gonna have to come, like, just not build any units out of that gateway. Now, the fact that there are only 2 goons there, well, it looks like it is going to be a Forge follow-up, and he is going to take his Nexus, but this is going to be DTs, and I think, well,
is it though?
100% this was a correct read from BoA, because he's going straight Observer. Like I said, really the only expensive tech units Protoss can build are Templars, whether they're DT or High Templars.
No, it's High Templars, yeah.
It is High Templars. Okay,
dude, I'm not like, I actually was looking at this, and I'm like, it looks like he's gonna go for some Storm expand, but like, okay,
well, it is exactly what you said. I'm looking at the main of BoA. Did I see an observatory? No. Now that's...
No, he does for sure.
Oh, okay, he does. Thank you. I was thinking, like, man, I'm so surprised that you're this confident that this guy's going Templar Forge.
He went shuttle first before the observer, which I mean, obviously you can have the shuttle build to halfway while the observatory is building, but that still delays your observer by half a shuttle timing. Which you know, given the fact that we're thinking maybe it's really fast DT, was slightly risky from BoA, but at the same time, you do have a lot of units there to hold the ramp and kind of sacrifice themselves. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. KwarK really likes to play like this. He wants you to feel like you... There's two kind of extremes. KwarK wants you to feel like you have to attack or you have to defend. And in this case, he wants BoA to feel like he has to defend, and he's playing greedy. And it looks like it's gonna work out. His Nexus is much faster. He has a cannon and Templars, and BoA does not have an expansion just yet. So this is interesting.
Well,
I actually kind of like KwarK's spot.
I think it's an okay position. He got away with murder that the Zealot and DT did not sit on the low ground and kind of, you know, do what Dewalt did, where it kind of checked for the blur over and over to see if any DTs were coming out. So he got about as good of an opener as he's going to get. Now this shuttle's coming in, and there's no defense there. All the Templars are near the front. Goons are also near the front, and unfortunately, this might get a few kills. But remember, we saw Dewalt go for this, and he kind of overextended a little too far, and it looks like that might be the case. But the fact that the cybernetics core is still spinning means that these goons do not have
Oh my god, that was
He gets a
massive!
Templar. How does he get the Templar?
That was crazy, and look, he's dodging the storm. Oh,
no!
Whip Storm! And this, oh my god,
Well,
this
this is over
Reaver's
now.
popping off! It looks like Storm is in a counter to shuttle Reaver. Forehead.
Well, that is just unlucky for KwarK. But that Reaver is dangerously low. But regardless, the damage is already done. He's killed so many. Cost. Oh my god, he's gonna kill probes too? Oh,
no, that's definitely gonna dud. But
that's gonna dud, but
this is actually sick. You know, I do like that move from KwarK, or from BoA rather, where he focuses down the units. He's not too obsessed about killing the probes, because already he's causing economic damage by just forcing the mineral line away. So really sick drop. If anything, I feel like in that situation, KwarK doesn't really need to have his units parked at his natural. He can just have them, because he has a cannon and he has Storm. It's not like the opposing player can just bum rush your natural, because then they eat storms in the face and that gives you time to reposition. He should definitely have had some units inside of his main. But that being said, I mean, this is the drawback from not having observers in this matchup, obviously. He had no scouting intel, and he's been playing so defensively. He's basically playing completely in the dark. And now, well, I mean, the supplies kind of tell the tale here. He is ridiculously far behind.
yeah, I mean, he's trying to rebuild his Templar count. You can see 2 more have popped out, but don't think they have energy just yet. If they do, they just barely got it. At least he has his NAT up and running. He didn't lose that many probes, but he's been forced to build this cannon in his main that he doesn't really want to build. Is that double Reaver or just one? There may even be DTs in this shuttle. Oh, that's about as good of a storm as you could possibly get. There could be 2 or 3 more available. Look at that Templar on the high ground. Needs 3 more. No, it doesn't need any more energy. It could cast a storm. He's waiting for the perfect one.
Damn. Well, this Reaver is popping off, man. And okay, finally the shuttle. Well, there you go. That's what you like to see. That's what is in play. Well, KwarK will GG.
Oh, the
actually.
DT in the main. Yeah, I thought he was going DT drop. I was like, wow, he got the Templar archive, but isn't using it. That's why I thought there was DTs in the bottom shuttle, but a secondary shuttle that we completely missed. And he wipes out KwarK's main, and that's going to put KwarK down 1-0. And that was an interesting opener, and I thought it went about as well as it's possibly going to go. But the Reaver killing 3 Templars and the Whiff Storm, just nothing went right for KwarK.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure if KwarK is intentionally also cutting probes or just missing probes, because despite having a Nexus, he was behind in supply the entire game. And you know, here's a secret tip, guys. In mirror matchups in the early game, well, okay, ZVZ is different, but in the early game, if you're behind in supply and nothing's happening, most likely you're just behind on workers. So I don't know, it was kind of weird because he had that expansion, but he just had no probes. I know he didn't even take damage from the Reaver, so I don't know, it was kind of weird. But the idea was interesting. Of course, KwarK saying that he is nervous, so maybe in his mind, had he executed better with, you know, we saw 1 Whiff Storm, maybe you can hold that type of play. But I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
Well, as we were pointing out on Blade Runner, where Terran can just sit tanks on the ledge and, you know, take their 3rd base instantly. I was looking at that ledge, and I thought it was going to be farther out, and then it makes sense, right? Because the Templar can sit on the high ground, not get hit, and still blanket all the goons. And you saw that's kind of what KwarK was going for. That Templar on the high ground was waiting for the Juicy Storm to be cast. So the idea, I think, on that particular map is pretty good. However, BoA, well, let's just say it how it was. He got lucky to kill all those Templars, and KwarK if he killed the Reaver, it's different. But he didn't even kill the Reaver, so everything was just a disaster. And KwarK's pick is going to be Demonio Azul. So let's see if BoA seals the deal here, or if KwarK can tie it up 1-1. All right, in the red, in the bottom left, we have our NA hopeful. It is BoA.
And in the 12 o'clock, the other currently residing in NA hopeful, it is KwarK. Originally from the UK, though. So, you know, a lot of people say he's NA, but is he really?
No. I mean, I didn't even know KwarK was in NA until, what, like 2 weeks ago when somebody told me he's living in Texas. I just assumed he was in the UK.
No, he's definitely EU, man. He's been in the UK for
he's
a long
EU.
time, man. Oh, yeah. I mean, BoA has actually lived in Canada for a significant portion of his life, so I'm pretty sure he has, like, Canadian citizenship and everything.
I don't know why, but when I was watching you talk to him the other day, the fact that he spoke French kind of threw me off a little bit. Because I was sitting there and I was expecting it to be English and just Korean, but then he also knew French. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know,
Yeah,
actually, a lot of Koreans here speak 3 languages. When I went to the airport, when Corona first hit.
Well, the
Japan,
airport. Okay, wait a second.
Well, I know.
The
I
airport,
know.
Okay.
I'm just talking. Okay. When Japan made a lockdown,
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what news to believe because one of the Korean news I had read said that it was closing on a certain day, and the Japanese news said a different day. And I was just like, "Can you confirm to me which day it is?" And she just loaded up like 4 different articles, one in Japanese, English, Korean, and some other language. And she's like, "Yeah, it's just this day." I was like, "Wow, you know all these languages." I'm struggling just to learn Korean.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. It is. You're looking at a subset of individuals who basically their job is to learn to know multiple languages, right? So, but yeah, well, yeah, BoA does. Yeah, I was surprised too. He, you know, he was talking to Clicks, another Twitch resident and strong Korean player who's very involved with the non-Korean scene because he speaks English and French.
What's this? This is Cannon
Words.
Rush. I don't want to cut you off. However, this is Cannon
you're right.
Rush. Any gas stolen?
Yeah, it is Cannon Rush here. No, all I was gonna say was that, you know, a lot of people in Canada learn French because it is technically an official language of the country. So even if you live out in the English-speaking parts, you can definitely start learning some French. But there's gonna be a Cannon Rush here, another build that you don't often see. I feel like I'm
Kate
watching.
sees it.
Dude, is this Brood War or is this StarCraft 2? The thing is that
Not a wall, apparently. Or maybe it was, and nope, it doesn't look like it was a wall, so the Zealot just... Oh, unfortunately, sneaks out, and KwarK apparently missed the pylon placement by 1 pixel. And that's just going to be an instant GG coming in from him. So unfortunately, KwarK, who looked so good in the round of 24, is going to be taken out in the round of 16, not putting up the showing that he wanted to do. And we liked the build on Blade Runner, just kind of fell apart. And this build I thought looked okay too, but just a little bit off.
Yep. So unfortunate. It is going to be BoA versus SPX for the last chance match. And that will be the last game for today. So don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with the 6 series.
we are back now with our final match of the day. It's going to be BoA versus SPX. Another PvT series. We saw SPX really didn't get anything going versus Dewalt, so hopefully he'll be able to turn it around because it's not going to be any easier versus BoA. BoA looking pretty good today, managing to go 1-2 versus Dewalt, and he had good games even in the games that he lost. So it's going to be very hard, I think, for SPX. SPX, as we mentioned before, he's a regular. However, if you look at the profile, kind of gets stopped out in the round of 16 consistently. And BoA, he made top 6 last season, so he's looking to repeat and get into the round of 8 at least.
Yeah, and you even mentioned earlier BoA last season was looking shaky, but still made it to top 6. I mean, this guy is nuts when he plays well, and we saw it against Dewalt. I mean, that was, both players were playing really, really, really well, and we know Dewalt's level, and BoA was blow for blow all 3 games. So we'll have to see here. SPX does have his work cut out for him, and the games against Dewalt did not go particularly well. Now, Dewalt might have stronger PvT than BoA on paper, I suppose, but BoA's PvT is no joke. Last season, in the round robin, he crushed Dandy and Koget, though he did end up losing to Dandy in the in the bracket phase there, 0-3, and we've seen that happen to him, where in PvT, once the multitask gets going, he might start looking really shot, kind of. But outside of that, his PvT has been phenomenal. And last season, I'm pretty sure he beat Terror as well. He was part of the reason why Terror didn't make it out of the early group stage. So this guy's no joke in PvT.
Yeah, and we are going to have Blade Runner, another new map. So we'll see if SPX can make something happen on here. We were talking about how Demonio Azul was kind of wide open mains. Blade Runner was pretty wide open too. However, you can get, third and fourth base much easier. We're seeing it now. Look at those bases. They are pretty darn big. We saw just a couple games ago BoA getting into KwarK's main very easily and kind of dismantling him there. And something that we haven't seen come into play is mentioned in the Blade Runner description is there's power generators. I don't think we've seen a single person kind of abuse them, like set up a goon arc, for example, or position cannons right outside of the generators or something like that.
We saw the generators are a really nice idea. We actually saw, I think it was Bonneth versus True Touch, where Bonneth sat his entire army, or it might have been versus Hawk. It was either Hawk or True Touch, and Zero thinks it was True Touch. But I remember PvZ where Bonneth sat his units outside of the natural and killed the assimilators to basically open it up. And suddenly, it was against Hawk, because Hawk was playing that really turtle style. And suddenly, once the assimilators were gone, the kind of turtle style didn't seem as strong because there was so much more surface area to work with. So definitely these assimilators, once they go down, they can change the architecture. And in PvT, that could be true too, if a Terran player is kind of very reliant on that choke to defend the natural in the third. We'll have to see though. The game is ready, players are in the lobby. Let's get it going.
All right, in the bottom left, we have SPX already at 100 minerals somehow.
And in the top left, it is BoA with the pylon already ready. So we know there's no gateway, or there's no proxy gate.
Yeah, so we just saw Dewalt kind of just Zealot Man rally across the map. I don't think BoA's that type of person to go for that build that we saw Dewalt. What was it? Gate expand with very delayed cybernetics, but dealt so much damage with his 4 or 5 Zealots that ended up getting built. Now, that is a forward Rax. We were talking about how that was a forward Rax on Sylph. It ended up not being a wall. So I don't really expect this to be a wall either. This time around, SPX has finally just gone for standard 12 gas. This is no shenanigans, no 14 gas, no 15 gas. This is just pretty much by the book. We'll have to wait and see how he wants to use this.
Yep. It is going to be very standard from both players here, though SPX is not scouting yet. Only now does he start scouting. This is... You know what, man? Like, scouting this late in this game, it's not going to have any effect whatsoever. And it looks like he's even going to scout correctly. But when you delay your scout... So factory expand should kill 12 Nexus. But if your scout is late to the second base, like it would have been this game, it's very likely that you might not be able to kill it. So luckily for SPX, that slip up is not going to cost him anything. But, you know, it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, we do see that SPX, as expected, has pulled off of gas, so this is just going to be a natural follow-up. Meanwhile, nothing unusual from BoA. I think he kept 3 on gas. There's the second goon being made by him too. So this is probably going to be 23 or so. Nexus coming down, 25-ish. Maybe he'll go into the 28 Nexus, but I kind of doubt that. Now, this is a little bit of a mix-up. Remember, we saw SPX go for 3 Marine expand on Overwatch. This time, subtle difference is just going to be 2 Marines into the bunker, into the command center. And this time, no Vulture either, so it's just going to be straight tank. As we've mentioned before, SPX is somebody that mimics Dandy and Koget. So Dropship is in his arsenal, so we've got to keep a close eye on that SCV that's out on the center map. Actually, that's 2 SCVs, because look at bottom middle. There is an SCV down there, and there is an SCV at mid-right, or mid-left. But actually, it's just going in for a secondary scout.
Yeah, the rescout here, very standard in this match if you want to confirm the Nexus. Especially if it's before 4 minutes, then you know nothing is going on. Nothing too shady is going on. Ooh, that Dragoon is missing a lot though. So the SCV is also going to get inside of the base, which is surprising because the probe was there to block the ramp. And this rescout into the main is huge, especially if he gets to see this robotics. If he sees the robotics, he can start cutting a lot of corners. Yes, the robotics is scouted. All of a sudden, you know, when Terran doesn't have to worry about DT openers, you can even start looking at 4 factory, skip eBay Academy. You can just delay your Academy. You can do so many things with this confirmation of the robotics. So very nice rescout there from SPX. BoA has a Dragoon hitting this bunker. I hope an SCV is on the way. It is a bit far. The bunker is taking a decent amount of damage. Luckily for SPX, the second Dragoon was held up inside of BoA's base to deal with the SCV. But this is still only 1 SCV repairing this bunker, though with the tank, SPX will be fine. So this game, he is getting his expansion off, which he basically in the previous game against Dewalt, in the previous 2 games, he was not successful in expanding without a hitch. This time around, he is. So he will be able to play his own game. This is already looking much better than the previous 2 games, and in large part it's because he decided to go for this factory expand instead of the gasless.
Yeah, and he saw that this was a 420 robo, not a 4-minute robo, so it's not going to be... Well, he's going to have a 20-second longer window to actually hit before Reaver, and it looks like he's going for that 3-tank standard push out. But there are only 2 Marines, so I don't know how much he's actually going to be able to buffer for these tanks when he moves out. The Rax is pretty cute, sitting over those, or it's actually 2 tanks there, so BoA doesn't know exactly how much DPS SPX has. 5 goons are sitting here and waiting, and I know SPX is dangerous.
Yeah, well, he is going to push out this 3 tanks for his 5 goons. Unfortunately, BoA was just not paying attention there, because when you present the tanks like that against the Dragoons, Protoss just needs to go in and snipe. If there's nothing keeping the Dragoons back from getting on top of your tanks, they will trade so effectively against the tanks, 2-shotting them. So kind of fortunate there from SPX, and he did kill 1 Dragoon with it, but it looks like he's not actually going to commit to pushing across the map. Of course, there's a lot of ramps to work with here as Protoss, and it's kind of hard to push through the middle because you have no vision. So kind of, I do like this from SPX. He is just going to push the goons out so he can get the vultures out onto the map. But it looks like BoA, he's coming back in here, senses that something's off because the follow-up wasn't there with the tanks. SPX trying to get a turret out so he can get his third command center fast and on location, but it is going to get stopped. This is kind of a risky move from BoA. I don't know what he has at his natural, but it looks like SPX is not actually using his vultures. They're kind of just chilling in the middle of the map. If the rack...
Oh yeah, this was what I was waiting for, is he could just jump on that tank and gets one of them, and that command center that's built on location, luckily for SPX, has not been spotted because, oh, it's not being built. I thought it was being built. I thought that BoA could just move down there and kill it. Regardless, this has thrown a wrench in SPX build because look how many resources he's floating now. He's at 900. Siege just now completes. He's going to get a nice shot, taking down 2 of the goons. Behind this, vultures did lay mines, so if the goons just back off, this may be some blue goo coming in. Oh no, BoA! Okay, luckily that one doesn't connect, but there still are a couple more. It looks like one of them connects, and he does take down one of the goons. Meanwhile, behind this, Reaver coming in, standard follow-up, and Nexus for BoA.
Yeah, well, this is looking really good for BoA. Kind of unfortunate opening here from Terran, but you know, still playable. The Reaver is out. It is going to deal with the vultures here at the 4th base. Yeah, I mean, again, SPX... Oh, it looks like he's actually taking the gas expansion at the 6 o'clock, which I do like. But, oh, actually, BoA, I think, scouted it as well, so he knows this is up, right? That's a command center going down there?
I think he double expanded. I think there's a command center in his main, and there's a command center going down right there. So it's going to be quadruple expansions for SPX. Turret ring is already set up for... Oh, nope. Turret ring is not at the bottom, so this is going to be a denial there because you're not attacking with siege mode into Reavers uphill. Yeah, just instant cancel. These bases are so close that I really wish that SPX had just built this command center in his main. Like, look, it's really, really close. And instead, it just gets instantly denied. So a bit unlucky there for SPX. Now, what I'm most worried about is when you build command centers this fast. Okay, there we go. There's the armory. I was going to say, you're generally skipping armory. So at least SPX is not skimping out on his upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, this is overall a good build from SPX, but it really has gone delayed by BoA's early movements. BoA is the type of player that does like to go for the early aggression. He is kind of on top of the meta. He will go for this 10-minute bust, 10:30, and follow up with Templar tech, eventually getting into Arbiters, but much later. So on this map, though, because of the layout, you know, the 3rd base is kind of tucked away. Protoss kind of has to come in through these double generators. It is hard to pull off that style, so you can see a lot of tanks siege. They can be spread apart. There's turrets covering. There's also a rack, so despite the fact that BoA is going to go for this attack, and you can see his supply is quite healthy, I'm not too sure how effective it's going to be. That being said, it is going to be a lot of units. There are no vultures, there are no mines.
Yeah, there's no mines, there's no vultures. Okay, there we go. I was waiting to see if we have SimCity. He's got a lot of tanks, but double shuttle bomb is going to be coming in. The Zealots already have speed, and with no support for these tanks. Also, the Reaver is there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is, I think it's just too much. But that SimCity is really helping. The goons are not doing any damage at all, just attacking a barracks.
Yeah, but the barracks dies. And the supply differential here is just humongous. BoA with a metric ton of units is going to come through here and bust this position, despite the fact that really that was as good as a setup as you could have as Terran, minus the fact that there was no vulture, no mines there. And like, this is what BoA is really good at. He's just rallying units. His macro is top notch in this phase of the game, and he is going to just bust into the NAT, not just the 3rd.
Yeah, this NAT has been compromised. SPX probably going to have to lift. If not, oh, there's still a shuttle there. So the shuttle, oh, he can elevator the Zealot on top of that tank. That's what I was waiting for. Not many goons left over, so maybe the vultures can deal with the Zealots, but they don't have any speed. So the vultures are actually not that efficient versus the Zealots. You can see SPX microing his heart out, but behind this, everything is delayed. Remember, he did have his armory upgrading. I think that's a starport being built, so +2 is definitely not on time. 3rd and 4th command center are all lifted. Meanwhile, behind this, I think Stargate and stuff has been going down for BoA because I see some tech being built. Yeah, Stargate is done, so Arbor is going to be coming out pretty soon. But we're not even going to get to that because SPX just taps out.
Yeah, GG from SPX. I mean, the units just got on top of the factories there. Yeah, I mean, that's how BoA plays. He's really aggressive on that timing. And if you are not prepared for it, if you don't have enough units, it's not even just about being prepared for it, because we saw there SPX did have the proper wall there. Proper wall. I mean, he had a nice setup, right? The tanks were all spread out as well. The barracks was soaking up a lot of hits. The turrets were there, so the shuttle died instantly. Maybe what he could have done better was instantly focus fire the Reaver down with the tanks. But the problem against that timing is that if you don't have vultures with upgrades coming behind that to reinforce, the zealots are just way too strong against tanks. Like, you need to have vultures in that composition. You know, like, you need to have vultures. So it is more than just preparation. You have to kind of mold your build around it as Terran to have the proper response there. And BoA, like, surprisingly, you know, a lot of the times, like, we saw Dragon kind of go for a pseudo bust there against Koget yesterday, but it didn't work out at all, even though Koget also had that pure tank setup. But of course, then we saw, look at Dragon's base, he had like the Stargate going and everything, but BoA, no, he's actually committed to this attack. This is part of the build. So he had Zealot speed, he had a bunch more gateways following that up. So he was able not only to bust the third, but just kill Terran straight up.
Yeah, and the build was just a direct counter to what SPX is doing, because BoA knew what SPX was doing. You just wanted to mass expand, and when BoA goes for that type of style, you just don't have any money to put down factories. As a Terran player, I know the timings of the factories. You're putting them down at like 8 minutes and then also at 10 minutes. But if you watch the timing from BoA, he comes in like right when the factories are about to finish or just completed. So you don't even have a cycle of units out. And then you factor in the fact that SPX spent all those resources on command centers that weren't landed, right? He had the command centers, but they weren't mining, so he didn't really get income from those bases. So a perfect read from BoA, perfect counter, and he hits right when SPX is the most vulnerable. If SPX had gotten up those bases, BoA was in trouble, because when you go for that style, you do delay your tech. His Arbor would have been mega late. He also didn't have a fourth base, so you really kind of have to do a lot of damage to the Terran player when you play that. And as you mentioned, he was committed to that. When you play that, you have to commit to it. You cannot, you know, screw around. You cannot half-ass it. You got to do it. Yeah. And it was perfectly executed by BoA. So now we've got SPX's pick. We just had a big, you know, 4-player map. I think he should pick Polyploid again, or Polyploid, because he's going to have high ground, but instead he's going to go with Sylphid. We saw him pick this versus Dewalt, right? Yeah, and yeah. We are ready, so let's see if BoA can make it out in second place, or SPX can bring it back to a tied up score. Alrighty, in the top middle, repping Canada, it is BoA.
And in the bottom left, from Russia, it is Terran, the Terran player rather, SPX.
Alright, so we saw, what did we see here last time? Oh, we saw the gasless, well, semi-gasless, because it was a 15 gas, into the double tank push. Is that right? Was it versus KwarK?
No, it was he played both KwarK and Dewalt today on this map. In the Dewalt game, he went for that push that got completely dismantled.
Yes.
And against KwarK, it was against the 12 Nexus build.
Yes, that is correct.
Where he also did something like a 2-factory attack follow-up into 6 factories. So we'll see. I mean, Sylphid is a good TVP map. You know, it is one of the best TVP maps in the map pool, but it's definitely kind of geared towards that upgrade style where you can leapfrog bases, and it's a good map because it's easy for Terran to get 5 bases on this map, and when they push out, there are a lot of targets to, like, there's a lot of positions on the map to where if Terran gets a hold of those positions, they can deny multiple bases at once. But we'll see if SPX gets to that point. So far, he has had very short games. And the previous game, it looked like he was going to set up for some kind of macro game upgrade style until he got busted. So hopefully he tries that style again on this map, but on this map, it's going to be even harder to hold against the bust.
Yeah, you can't even build buildings anywhere, really. Like, there's not going to be the opportunity for SPX to build buildings in front of his natural and, you know, have the goons soak up, or have like depots and barracks soak up a lot of hits, unless he's going to float the barracks right there. Really, he's going to have to sim city the third base as best as he can. He may even consider like floating his eBay there to soak up as many hits as possible. But really, if you think about what the general unit comp was for BoA, it was mostly zealots. There was only like 7 goons there, so not really going to help him that much. Still 1 on gas for SPX, so again, it's just going to be standard expand. Probe comes in here, doesn't really get a scout. If this was a more dangerous player, somebody that mixes it up more like Terror, BoA would be in a bit of a painful position to not be able to see exactly what's going on. But since it is SPX, not likely to see Proxy Starport or Proxy Factory anywhere. Probe for now is just going to hang around and try and confirm Marine count and bunker timing.
Yeah, I mean, pretty standard overall here. Probe does get warded away by the Marine. And SPX is going to scout Protoss second, but at a timing that isn't so helpful. If it gets intercepted by this Dragoon, no, it looks like BoA is going to ignore the SCV, actually. I'm not sure, maybe he didn't actually even see the SCV. But SPX is going to get a scout inside of the Protoss's main, and if he gets to see something like the cybernetic score spinning in the third pylon, then he knows exactly what's going on. But the third pylon is tucked away. 1 Dragoon coming out here. The probe does go down, but 1 Marine gets picked off, so 6 micro so far by BoA. The Vulture is out on the map, though, so that's going to force the Dragoon back. Looks like BoA is setting up for an expansion. SPX did see the probe in position at the natural, but he did not confirm the third pylon, I don't think. So this could be anything, but obviously it looks like BoA is going to put the Nexus down. This Vulture should run in here and confirm it any moment.
Yeah, so, oh, there we go. There is the starport that I was waiting to see, because all of these maps do have the open main, Sylphid included, yet we haven't seen it really all day long. Of course, the Dewalt games, SPX kind of just got put behind very, very far in the early stages. Now that he hasn't been put down deep in the gutters, we are going to see how well he can make this micro-intensive build work. Looks like BoA's going into standard play. He's got Robo coming in. It is a little bit later than usual, 420 Robo. A lot of pros are putting it down around the 4-minute mark, but overall not a big deal. That SCV, what is that going to be? That is going to be an Academy. Yeah. Interesting choice, because you know that, well, SPX is already going Vultures and Mines.
Yeah, that's totally right, but the thing is, he actually went to Starport before starting any of his Vulture upgrades, which isn't usually the case. You know, you kind of want to start Mines, then get your Starport going, and then you'll have time to even get speed as well, so you'll have fully upgraded Vultures. This Academy, in a sense, you kind of need it, right? Like, he doesn't have detection outside of Mines, but like you said, Nyokin, like, with this type of build, and given this opening, the thing that covers for DTs is the forward Mines. So, kind of a bit redundant, and it is going to delay the rest of his build here. But,
well, also with the starport, when he drops, he's going to be able to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, no, I know, I totally agree with you. Like, this usually you're not making this, but you the other side of this is that SPX did not actually have to make a tank, so that saved a lot of resources for him. In that probably this Academy isn't even gonna dent his economy, to be honest, because the tank is 150 minerals, 100 gas. It's a huge investment. But saving on that cost early on is allowing him to get everything. Wow, he's getting an armory as well at a nice time. Second gas as well. He is going to be on 1 factory for a bit, but that's okay. He has a dropship here to keep the Protoss back.
Yeah, there's nothing in the main. Oh no, this is the anti-timing for BoA, and if you're an SPX fan, this is SPX's time to shine. It doesn't get better than this. Protoss is completely across the map. However,
How does
when
he defend?
Protoss comes in here, yeah, how's SPX going to defend this? There's a bunker with no range, obviously no tanks. 4 vultures, that's a big commitment on 1 factory. So if BoA just counterattacks, he may win. He realizes that, and there he goes.
Oh, this is exactly the type of situation that we've seen BoA crumble in before, but there's no defense at SPX's front. It's just a bunker, and that's a lot of Dragoons hitting it, so you're going to need a lot of SCVs, and the 3-gate Goon is going to defend the drop, so this is going to end up being more damage for the Protoss player most likely. Dragoons are going down though, trying to snipe these SCVs, so not actually getting in and doing damage, but you know, obviously the entire mineral line from SPX's natural is there repairing the bunker. He didn't really get too... Man, that was a sick pickoff actually with the Wraith amid all those Dragoons to kill the Observer. Now there's nothing to spot for mines, but you know, there are no mines, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, SPX did not kill as many probes as he was hoping to, I don't think.
Well, he did make it very chaotic, and BoA wasn't mining the main for a long time, but 3 vultures are out in the center of the map looking for a backstab to the net, but the bunker falls, and now there's 9 goons here versus 3 marines and 1 tank, and the vultures aren't harassing the natural at the same time, making it crazy. Really nice Rax block, but I don't know how you can kill the rest of these goons.
Yeah, well, you don't. And that's going to be it. I mean, these Dragoons are there. There's no units. The thing is, you need siege mode early on with this build, and you need tanks at some point. Yeah, you have to make vultures, but I feel like the most amount that you should have is 7, if not just 6. You should have tanks by now. And the natural is going to go down. I mean, this command center, if it gets focus fire, it might very well go down. There's no units coming to defend. All the SVs are getting killed.
This is going to be a dead command center. Even if it doesn't fall, he could focus down the armory. Siege is completed, but yeah, this command center is probably just gone. Shuttle's coming in. We know that that had at least 3 zealots, because I saw them pop out at the natural. That's going to shut down the tank forever, and that's going to leave the nat completely exposed. And BoA, he just wants to end this game. The vultures had to be elevated back into his main just to try and keep these vultures alive and actually go for it. Wow, I'm shocked that the zealots died. But regardless, the damage is already done. 28 supply for SPX.
Yeah, 28 supply. BoA, meanwhile, still has an economy going. He is only on 2 base, but, you know, when you're up 50 supply. Of course, SPX is fighting for his tournament life. He is going to try and live here. Not quite clear that Protoss can push in just yet, but I think once he starts loading up units inside of that shuttle, I think the shuttle is going back to the main base to pick up a Reaver or something.
I think he's probably just going to, yeah, Reaver and Zealots is what I was expecting, and he already picked off that Wraith, so there's no anti-play for the shuttle, of course, so he's going to be able to just drop directly on the tanks. As you mentioned, SPX is going to try and play it out, but this is not recoverable. BoA can do absolutely whatever he wants. He wants to go Stargate, he can do that. He wants to go Arbiter, he can do that. It looks like he's going to go for 4 Nexus. He's already got probes in position at top right and mid right.
Yeah, well, that's going to be, I mean, he's going to try and push out to take this. See, BoA is playing very safe. I mean, really, when a Terran just sits inside of his main like that, and he can live for a really long time in almost every matchup, but yeah, once SPX tries to take this natural back, it will be lights out for him. You can see BoA is starting to take the rest of the map. The Wraith does come out here, hits the shuttle a couple of times. That's not going to be enough damage to kill it. It doesn't even take the shields off, so still very healthy there. More factories getting added, but the Zealots, of course, the SPX does scan that third, and he sees the Zealots are on the way, so now he knows as soon as he pushes out, there's going to be Zealots with speed, with a shuttle and the Reaver and Dragoons, and we only really have 4 tanks, so it's just looking really, really bad for Terran.
Yeah, we did see that the Citadel was put down from BoA, so it's just going to be a repeat of last game. He's just going to bum rush the natural. The Vulture is microing its heart out. I mean, it gets a kill, but there's, what, 6 gates for BoA? He he surprisingly didn't put down a Nexus anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's still up 60 supply. Slow Reaver coming across the map. Oh, that is a Nexus right there in front of me. What am I talking about? Here comes that command center. He's going to try and land it, but that's not going to happen. Double shuttle is out for BoA. He's got 2 Reavers. He's got 4 Zealots, I guess, loaded up in all of those. And we'll see if he can hold it, but these mines are going to have miracle shots.
Yep, they will. BoA is taking his time. This is only 4 tanks, though. 5 tanks now. Double shuttle, though, coming in with a Reaver and several Zealots. Dragoons will get on top. Oh, 2 Reavers. Actually, they're going to start doing so much damage to these tanks. 2 tanks already going down. All the mines have been cleared out. 3 tanks down. Zealots with speed getting on top of the last 2. And that is going to be it for SPX's tournament. BoA does stay alive, and he does go into the round of 8. Advances second to Dewalt. And sick performance from him, man.
Yeah, really solid showing today. You can tell that his PVT is on point. Hit a really crisp timing versus SPX on Blade Runner. Then, when it got very chaotic, where vultures are in your main, he had the sense to just say, hey, man, you don't have anything, and just counterattacked and killed him and made it scrappy himself. So nicely done from him. And then we got, I think, probably both players that we were expecting to get out of this group to make it out.
Yeah.
Dewalt, of course, the favorite. And it kind of came down to who's going to get out in second place. And unfortunately, SPX and KwarK kind of, I guess, got the nerves got to them because it was not their best performance today. But that kind of happens, right? KwarK's a newcomer to BSL.
Yeah, of course.
And unfortunately, actually just building placement kind of did SPX in the Dewalt series. Like a second depot blocks your command center, just absolute disaster. So a bit unlucky for him. He is a very strong Terran. It was not a real true showing of his skills. So I hope he comes back next season and performs a little better.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, tournaments, they are ruthless to all the players. It's not just one player that experiences nerfs, it's all of them. Sometimes even if you're dealing with those right, sometimes it's just not your day, like we all have those days where you log in, try and play some games, and it's not coming together. And that can happen when it's tournament day or not. That's the challenge of being a competitive player. You have to kind of be prepared at all times. And even if you win today, you might lose tomorrow. So, the tale is that we do always talk about the victors and how well it goes for them, but the true challenge of a player is to bounce back from defeat, because we all experience it. So, KwarK and SPX, they will have chances in the future, and this is not the end of the road for them. But as far as BSL11 goes, it is, and the 2 players advancing will be Dewalt and BoA. Extremely strong Protoss players, and they're going to join. Who are they going to join there in the round of 8?
Yeah, I was loading up the player list just now. We've got True Touch, Boneth, Avilov, Oya, Terror, Koget, Dewalt, and BoA. And going into the round of 8, the number 1 ranked seed from the groups are going to be playing number 2 seeds from different groups. So Dewalt cannot play BoA in round of 8. True Touch cannot play Boneth in round of 8. They're going to have opponents from differing groups. I'm looking at the racial balance. We've got 4 Protoss, 2 Zergs, and 2 Terran, so about as balanced as you're gonna get. So
that's actually the same distribution we had last season.
Is it?
Yeah, last season we had the 2 Zergs, Eon Zerg, and Siki. We had the 2 Terrans, Dandy and Koget, and we had Oyaji, Boneth, Dewalt, and BoA. So the same 4 Protosses make it through to the round of 8. Koget as well, round of 8 again, and the newcomers are going to be, like you said, Avilov, Terror, and that's it, right?
Well,
and
True Touch is a newcomer from last season, but not really a newcomer in BSL. So that is going to wrap up today. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Esports Fund, for supporting the BSL, and of course our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And also the donators today. I saw a couple of you make some big donations in the chat, so thank you so much. At the $100 level, we have Star Lover at the $50 level, Grail and Striker. $30 level, Tupacalypse and Gruglog. Bombastic Major, $20 level, X Civil War X, Christian Eddington, Mad Catz Fury Road, Martins, Harzmar, LML, Lingen Pump, and Comchak. Thank you all for supporting the BSL and also our lower tier Patreon supporters. Remember, at the $10 level, if you become a Patreon supporter, you will get all of the BSL replays. So definitely think about supporting the BSL through Patreon.
Yeah, and also, guys, check out the shop. Code Bombastic for 20% off of these great, I mean, there's great hoodies, great polos, caps, t-shirts, mugs, socks. Soon we'll have underwear, I'm sure.
Well, you've already got them, right? You're testing.
Yeah, I've got my Super Gosu boxers. But yeah, make sure to check it out. It's a great quality. Again, code Bombastic, 20% off. Definitely a sick deal. And yeah, also today we are going to have the brackets, the bracket show right after this, right after Naokin and I sign off. So make sure to stay tuned to see the pairings in the bracket, because that's going to be exciting. And once again, you know, again, today I actually got debated because I didn't realize that North America, like, we changed back to daylight savings or whatever. So I got here an hour earlier. Naokin's not here, Zero's not here. I'm like, what's going on? But today it was an hour later for us North American folk, but presumably then next week it is going to be the same time, because there's usually 1 week difference between Europe and North America in changing the clock. For Naokin, it's just going to always be different, because in Asia they are not insane people that still you know, have daylight savings for some reason. But yeah, next week, guys, Saturday and Sunday, what is it, 12:30 or 6:30 Central European time, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. He's Nye, I'm Guy. That's gonna be it for today, but stay tuned for the brackets.